One-night affair, pregnant with my boss's child. Ji Yuyin had worked as an executive assistant at Pei Group for 2 years. To everyone, she was diligent, honest, and reserved. However, last night, Ji Yuyin stiffly lifted the corner of the blanket and saw her bare self underneath. Her face turned pale and then flushed with embarrassment. The memory of grabbing the man's tie and forcibly pulling him to bed made her shiver. Turning stiffly, she saw the man still fast asleep. Huff! Ji Yuyin gasped in shock and immediately pulled the blanket tight around herself. Last night had not been a dream, she had actually forced herself onto her boss. Pei Xiao, the chairman and CEO of Dongfang International, and her superior. What had she done? Ji Yuyin was shaken, but she couldn't afford to dwell on it. Her innocence had already been lost. In a panic, she scrambled out of bed and threw on clothes as fast as she could. Before Pei Xiao woke up, she had to escape the scene. With trembling legs, she returned to her room, trying to act like nothing had happened. As she was getting ready, Yang Chu noticed her return and casually asked, "Why didn't you come back last night after escorting Mr. Pei to his room? I tried calling you, but you didn't answer." Ji Yuyin's heart skipped a beat. Stammering, she replied, I came back, but you were sleeping so deeply I didn't want to wake you. I had to go back to Mr. Pei because he needed something." It was a half-hearted explanation, but it made sense. As an executive assistant, she was always on call, especially now that they were on a business trip. Yang Chu gave an uninterested "oh" as she finished applying her false lashes. Seeing that Yang Chu didn't ask any further, Ji Yuyin sighed in relief and hurried into the bathroom to finish getting ready. The two women had breakfast together and quickly made their way to the conference venue. Ji Yuyin was dressed in a black blazer, returning to her usual composed self. Her phone buzzed in the pocket of her jacket. She took it out and saw Pei Zong flashing on the screen. Her breath caught in her chest. "Come to the lounge to see me." The few words on the screen felt like a spark of fury coming through. Her heart instantly leapt into her throat. But Pei Xiao had been very drunk last night. Surely, he wouldn't remember what happened, right? With a nervous and uncertain heart, Ji Yuyin made her way to the lounge to find Pei Xiao. The man's icy features and the pressure in his eyes were even colder than usual. It sent an involuntary shiver through her body. Ji Yuyin gripped her heart tightly as she approached him, silently praying that he wouldn't recognize her. Trying to sound respectful, she said, "Mr. Pei, you called for me." Snap! The silver angel pendant was thrown onto the cold coffee table. Ji Yuyin's blood ran cold the instant she saw the pendant. She had dropped such an important item in the room last night. Her eyes carefully studied Pei Xiao's expression. His thin lips were pressed into a tight line, and his eyes glittered with a cold, dangerous light. Ji Yuyin's heart clenched as she thought, should I admit it now? Is it too late? Pei Xiao's voice cut through the air like ice, "You have 24 hours to find the owner of this." Ji Yuyin's face went pale. Her mind was in a whirl, and her thoughts buzzed in her head. She stared blankly at the man sitting on the couch, his posture exuding authority and elegance. "Find someone?" she asked, stunned. So he didn't know the pendant belonged to her? Ji Yuyin instinctively relaxed, but then, her breath quickened. The criminal was her. Where was she supposed to find someone in 24 hours? Seeing her confusion, Pei Xiao gave her a cold, dangerous look. Is it that difficult? His commanding tone snapped her back into reality. Panicking, Ji Yuyin quickly grabbed the pendant from the table. "It's not difficult, Mr. Pei. I'll go look into it right away." She turned to leave in haste. Just as she took a few steps, a thought crossed her mind, and she turned back nervously. "Should I bring the person to you once I find them?" Pei Xiao's eyes flashed with coldness. "Let Luo Yang handle it." The menace in his eyes sent a tremor through Ji Yuyin's legs. She almost collapsed on the floor. Letting Luo Yang handle it meant that the person would be completely removed from Hong Kong City, or they would never have a future in this business again. Chapter 2, A Must to Keep Everything Under Wraps. Ji Yuyin had no idea how she managed to leave the lounge, but she returned to the conference hall with a face as pale as death. Yang Chu noticed her and asked with concern, "What's wrong with your face? Are you sick?" Ji Yuyin looked at her best friend from middle school and instantly felt her eyes well up with tears. Seeing the tears, Yang Chu quickly scanned the room. When she saw no one around, she pulled Ji Yuyin towards the bathroom and asked in a low voice, "What happened? Did Pei Zong scold you?" As soon as they entered the bathroom and Yang Chu locked the door, Ji Yuyin collapsed to the floor, her body weak and her face ghastly pale. Yang Chu rushed to her side and helped her sit up. "What happened? Don't let Pei Zong see you like this, or you'll be in big trouble." Everyone knew that the president of Pei Group, Pei Xiao, was strict and ruthless. No matter how beautiful the female employees were, they were nothing more than decorations in his eyes. Crying at work was an absolute taboo, and there was even an incident where a female employee was fired for crying in the office after a breakup. He had no sympathy for women whatsoever. Ji Yuyin sobbed, unable to catch her breath. "Chu-chu, I can't get fired. I don't want to leave Hong Kong." Yang Chu was puzzled and anxious. "Wait, what did you do to make Pei Zong mad?" Ji Yuyin's voice cracked. I forced him." Yang Chu froze. Her anxious face instantly turned to stone. The air in the room seemed to freeze, and all that could be heard was Ji Yuyin sobbing. It took a full minute before Yang Chu came to her senses. "Wait, what did you just say? I didn't hear you clearly. Was the wind too strong in the bathroom, or was she hearing things?" I stayed in his room last night. I didn't come back." Ji Yuyin spoke more clearly this time. The air fell silent once more. Yang Chu's lips twitched uncontrollably. You mean you forced Pei Zong?" She couldn't believe it. Had Ji Yuyin really done that? This was completely outrageous. Over the years, countless women had tried to climb into Pei Xiao's bed, but none had come to a good end. Even those who tried to manipulate him with pregnancy threats ended up being sent to the hospital. Ji Yuyin was someone Yang Chu had introduced to the company. If Pei Xiao found out, it wouldn't just be Ji Yuyin who was ruined, her family's business would be dragged down with her. Yang Chu jumped up in shock. "Ji Yuyin, who gave you the guts to do this?" Afterward, she quickly moved 3 meters away from Ji Yuyin, as if afraid of being dragged down with her. Seeing Yang Chu's reaction, Ji Yuyin's tears became uncontrollable. Her mind was in a fog as she tried to recall what happened. "I don't know. I just blocked 3 glasses of wine for him last night, and after that, I couldn't control myself." "What do you mean, couldn't control yourself? Don't tell me you just leapt at him." Yang Chu stared at her, wide-eyed in disbelief. Who was Pei Xiao? Despite being the idol of every woman in the company, no one dared to make a move on him because of his ruthless nature. Yang Chu couldn't believe that Ji Yuyin. Yang Chu tried to calm herself down. "You've been with him for 3 years, and you still didn't know he's the one person you can't touch." Ji Yuyin's eyes were redder than ever, her mind completely disoriented. She looked a far cry from the confident woman who had taken down Pei Xiao last night. "What do I do now? He told me to find the person within 24 hours. She couldn't possibly present herself to Pei Xiao as the person responsible for everything, could she? The consequences were beyond her ability to bear. Yang Chu froze again. "Wait, what do you mean? He doesn't know it was you?" Pei Xiao didn't know it was her, but he still asked her to find the person. Ji Yuyin sobbed, gasping for air. Yang Chu was stunned, unable to imagine how a usually honest and upright Ji Yuyin could have acted with such boldness last night. But there was no time to waste. Yang Chu couldn't afford to think too much. "He really doesn't know it was you?" Ji Yuyin nodded firmly. "He doesn't know. If he had known, he wouldn't have asked her to find the person." Yang Chu sighed in relief. It was better that Pei Xiao didn't know. If he did, both the Ji Yu family and Ji Yuyin would be ruined. Then this is manageable. Yang Chu turned and opened the door. She peeked outside to ensure no one was around before closing it again. She leaned over and whispered a few words into Ji Yuyin's ear. Ji Yuyin listened to Yang Chu's plan, feeling uneasy. She looked at Yang Chu, unsure. "Do you really think this will work? Right now, it's the only option we have. Hurry up, we don't have much time." Yang Chu urged as she dragged Ji Yuyin up from the floor. The 2 women then quietly made their way to the security room. 2 hours later, Pei Xiao stepped down from the podium after his speech. Ji Yuyin respectfully approached and took the folder from his hands, walking alongside him to the lounge. Once inside the lounge, Ji Yuyin stood straight and, in a formal tone, said, "Mr. Pei, I've looked into the matter you asked about." Pei Xiao sat on the couch, giving her a cold, calculating glance. Ji Yun's back was drenched in cold sweat, but she kept her composure, maintaining the same strict demeanor she always had. Her face remained calm. I checked the security footage. After I escorted you back to your room last night, no one else entered the room. The item must have been left by a previous tenant. Chapter 3, Going to see your boyfriend. The atmosphere was eerily silent. It was so quiet that it seemed as though even a needle dropping on the floor would be heard. Ji Yuyin stood upright, but inside, her heart was in turmoil. Pei Xiao's dangerous gaze fixed on her deliberately rigid face as he coldly asked, "What do you mean by it should be?" Ji Yuyin. This was bad. Pei Xiao hated uncertain answers. Lowering her head, she gritted her teeth and said with determination, "After I escorted you to your room last night, no one else entered the room." Her tone was firm, without a hint of doubt. The silence in the room deepened, and Ji Yuyin couldn't have known just how long each second would feel. But she had to hold on. If Pei Xiao found out she was lying, not only would her career be ruined, but Yang Chu would also be dragged down with her. Plus, she had already settled in Hong Kong. If she couldn't make a living here, things would be very difficult. She didn't know how much time had passed, but sweat had soaked through her back. Finally, Pei Xiao spoke, "I understand." Ji Yuyin closed her eyes and exhaled a long breath, thinking that she had gotten through this hurdle. "Go bring me the seashine bidding proposal," Pei Xiao ordered in a low voice. Seeing that he had returned to his work, Ji Yuyin finally felt her heart relax slightly. She nodded, yes. The following month, they spent most of their time traveling for business, with Ji Yuyin intentionally avoiding Pei Xiao. A month later, they returned to Hong Kong after their overseas trip. As usual, after a long business trip, they had 2 days off, but Pei Xiao had an urgent meeting he needed to attend. After the meeting, Luo Yang stepped forward respectfully. Seeing Luo Yang, Pei Xiao instinctively furrowed his brows. "Where's Ji Yuyin? You forgot? After a long trip, everyone gets some time off. Since this trip lasted a month, Assistant Ji Yu should be going to see her boyfriend," Luo Yang replied. A cold gleam flashed in Pei Xiao's eyes, but then he quickly regained his composure. Luo Yang sensed the sudden increase in oppressive tension but couldn't understand the situation. Meanwhile, in the company dormitory, Yang Chu leaned close to Ji Yun's ear. "So, did Pei Zong do anything to you after that night?" Ji Yuyin, startled by Yang Chu suddenly bringing up what had happened a month ago, jumped in fright and quickly glanced at the other 2 doors in the room. Yang Chu reassured her, "Don't worry, everyone's gone. It's just the 2 of us." Ji Yuyin let out a sigh of relief. It had been hard enough to get through that night in front of Pei Xiao. Even though a month had passed, hearing Yang Chu mention it still made her heart race. She thought back to how dark Pei Xiao's face had looked that night. After thinking for a moment, she muttered, "Pei Zong probably didn't want any woman to stay in his room overnight. So, he was just verifying things. It was something he cared too much about." With that thought, Ji Yun's tense nerves finally relaxed. Yang Chu nodded. "That's good. Over the years, many women have tried to get close to Pei Zong, but it never ends well. Having any kind of relationship with him isn't a good thing." "I know. All right, let us not talk about this anymore. I need to head to the bank." Ji Yuyin completely didn't want to continue discussing it. When Yang Chu heard that she was going to the bank, she felt sorry for her. "Your brother is already in his internship, but he is still asking you for living expenses?" Ji Yuyin had already picked up her bag and walked to the hallway. As she changed her shoes, she replied, "He has found a suitable job yet, and he has called me several times while traveling." Her father had passed away when she was 5. She was the second child in her family, with an older sister and a younger brother. Her sister was already married, and her brother was in his university internship, about 6 months away from graduation. Once he finished, she and her sister would be completely relieved. Upon hearing that he had called her several times, Yang Chu became more upset. "I bet your mother has been spoiling him. She didn't pay a single penny for your schooling. Now your brother has been interning for 3 months and still hasn't found a job. He must be aiming too high." When Ji Yuyin heard her mother being mentioned, a cold light flashed in her eyes, but she didn't engage in the conversation. Instead, she asked Yang Chu, "Are you going out too?" "No, I'm not. You bring me lunch later." Ji Yuyin nodded. Okay. Leaving the dormitory, Ji Yuyin stepped outside. The sunlight was perfect, but she couldn't shake the chill that enveloped her, or rather, she hadn't felt warmth since her grandmother passed away. Her phone buzzed urgently in her bag. Taking it out, she saw it was her brother Xu Jingyu calling. With a look of annoyance, she hung up. The moment she hung up, the phone rang again. Ji Yuyin answered in a frustrated tone, "You have the time to rush me, but I've already had interviews with several companies." Chapter 4, Company Rule No Dating. On the other end of the phone, there was heavy breathing, tinged with a hint of coldness. Ji Yuyin was momentarily stunned. She looked at her phone again after she had ended the call. When she saw that it was Pei Xiao calling, she felt like banging her head against a telephone pole in frustration. In a split second, she switched to her formal tone and answered, "Pei Zong. Come back to the company right now." The man's cold voice uttered these few words before abruptly hanging up. Ji Yuyin stared at the black screen of her phone, pouting in grievance. Her little vacation was about to be over. She hurriedly turned around, went back to her dorm to change, and grabbed a quick pack of spicy and sour noodles for Yang Chu on the way. When Yang Chu saw her return so quickly, she furrowed her brows. "Don't tell me you didn't have to wait at the bank today." Ji Yuyin, out of breath from rushing, replied, "Pei Zong told me to come back to the company immediately. I packed some spicy noodles for you." She placed the noodles on the coffee table and quickly ran back to her room to change into her work clothes. Pei Xiao was a very picky person who absolutely did not tolerate his employees dressing casually at work. By the time she came out, Yang Chu was still venting for her. "Pei Zong is really something. He has been away for over a month, and not only does he refuse to take a break, he won't even let you rest. I should had you join our sales department instead." "I'm not good with words. I could never handle sales work," Ji Yuyin said, then quickly rushed out the door. The dormitory was only a 10-minute walk from the company, which was why she preferred living there, even though she had her own apartment. It was convenient and saved on transportation costs. She rushed to the company, heading straight to the president's office. As she entered, she saw Pei Xiao standing by the floor-to-ceiling window, sunlight casting on his sharp, elegant profile, his aura exuding a quiet but undeniable sense of power. Ji Yuyin respectfully approached from behind. "Pei Zong, you wanted to see me." Pei Xiao turned around, casting a cold glance at her. Maybe it was because Ji Yuyin had done something she felt guilty about, but she always felt as if his gaze was laced with some deeper meaning. Fortunately, after a brief moment, Pei Xiao withdrew his gaze. "Bring me the Seashine contract." Ji Yuyin. "The contract? Didn't he always avoid dealing with contracts? And if he needed the contract, wouldn't it be more efficient for the legal department assistant to bring it over? Why did he have her, who was supposed to be on vacation, run back for it?" Ji Yuyin felt confused but didn't dare to complain. She quickly went to the legal department to fetch the contract for Pei Xiao. Pei Xiao picked up a pen and made several changes, then handed the contract back to her. "Make the necessary revisions." "Okay." Ji Yuyin nodded, taking the contract and rushing back to her desk. As soon as she sat down, Yang Chu sent a message, asking how much longer she would be at the office and if they could go shopping afterward. Although Ji Yuyin was technically still on vacation, she was now busy at work. She replied, "I need to revise the Seashine contract. I'll be done in about half an hour." Just revising a contract, half an hour should be plenty of time. However, what Ji Yuyin didn't expect was that every time she brought the contract back, there were more and more changes to make. Even though she had a lot of patience, by the end, her mindset was starting to crack. 2 hours later. When Pei Xiao saw the final revisions, he said, "All right, that's enough for today." Ji Yuyin gathered the contract and tentatively asked, "So, is Seashine coming to sign the contract today?" If they were coming to sign today, that meant her vacation was truly over. Pei Xiao paused for a moment, then said, "The contract will be signed next Monday." Ji Yuyin's face stiffened, and her breath hitched for a moment. Next Monday? Was it really necessary to drag her out of vacation for this? But she dared not voice her frustration. Meeting Pei Xiao's cold, emotionless gaze, Ji Yuyin stiffly asked, "Is there anything else you need me to do?" The sound of a lighter flicking open echoed in the room, followed by the faint scent of gasoline and nicotine in the air, an atmosphere thick with oppressive tension. Ji Yuyin's heart tightened as she clearly saw that Pei Xiao wasn't happy, but she couldn't figure out why. Just as she was feeling confused, Pei Xiao's deep voice broke the silence. Were you on the phone with your boyfriend earlier? What? The sudden question caught Ji Yuyan off guard, and she didn't respond immediately. But then she remembered the phone call before she came back to the company. She felt embarrassed, realizing she hadn't even checked the caller ID and had simply shouted at whoever it was on the other end. She was about to explain when Pei Xiao coldly continued, "Did you know that the company has a rule that female employees are not allowed to date before they turn 25? A rule like that? She didn't know about it." Ji Yuyan racked her brain, trying to recall the training session from the HR department before she joined the company, but she didn't remember anything about this particular rule. Was it a new policy designed to prevent women from getting distracted by family obligations too early? In any case, she wasn't in a relationship, so to reassure Pei Xiao, Ji Yuyan spoke firmly, "Pei Zong, don't worry. I don't have a boyfriend, and I won't be getting married anytime soon." As soon as she finished speaking, the oppressive atmosphere in the room lightened somewhat. Chapter 5, Eavesdropping, Terrified and Uncertain. Ji Yuyan had just managed to escape from the office after a work report from Luo Yang. Through the glass, Pei Xiao watched Ji Yuyan, who had been meek and obedient in front of him, now acting entirely different and alive as she frantically searched for something. A faint smile tugged at the corner of his lips. Luo Yang followed Pei Xiao's gaze and noticed Ji Yuyan hurriedly looking for something. He couldn't help but think, Assistant Ji Yu is as careless as always. He turned back and handed Pei Xiao an envelope. "It's confirmed. The drugs from that night were sent by Madam's people." Before Pei Xiao could respond, his phone buzzed with a vibration. Luo Yang glanced down at the phone with an ice cream mascot casing. It was clearly not Pei Xiao's. He instantly understood what Ji Yuyan was searching for. Ji Yuyan had been trying to send a message to Yang Chu, letting her know that she was done, but had realized that she left her phone behind in Pei Xiao's office. She had no choice but to steel herself and go back to retrieve it. Just as she reached the door to the office, she overheard Pei Xiao's cold voice, "Where is that woman?" Ji Yuyan froze, her hand poised to knock on the door. "They are still looking for the woman from that night?" Luo Yang's voice continued to come from inside the office. "Madam is probably trying to ensure that the woman is out of the picture, so most likely, she is hiding her. Her people, huh?" Pei Xiao's voice grew even colder, tinged with menace. The next moment, his voice was as frigid as ice. "Find her within a month, and deal with it cleanly." "Understood." Luo Yang's response grew a little colder. Ji Yuyan felt her face go pale as she listened. No one knew better than her what "deal with it cleanly" meant. From their dangerous conversation, she became even more certain that once they found her, the consequences would be dire. Luo Yang opened the door and stepped out, noticing Ji Yuyan standing there. "Assistant Ji Yu. Director Luo, hello." Ji Yuyan immediately concealed her emotions and greeted him respectfully. But inside, her thoughts were in complete turmoil. Luo Yang looked at her pale face and asked, "Are you feeling unwell? You don't look too good." "I'm just a little cold," Ji Yuyan nervously lied. Luo Yang nodded and reminded her to go to the hospital before leaving. The door to the CEO's office was slightly ajar, and as soon as Ji Yuyan entered, her eyes immediately landed on her phone on the desk. With trembling legs, she walked inside. "Sorry, Pei Zong, I forgot my phone." As she reached for the phone, Pei Xiao swiftly grabbed it, and before Ji Yuyan could even react, he turned on the screen and placed the phone in front of her. His cold voice followed, "Assistant Ji Yu, do you have anything to say to me?" Ji Yuyan's already pale face turned even paler upon hearing Pei Xiao's frosty interrogation. Her heart almost leaped out of her chest when she saw the message from Yang Chu flash on the screen. "Why are you still not done? Did Pei Zong keep you?" The word "keep" was cut off due to the screen's saturation. But just those two words, "keep you," made Ji Yuyan's mind explode. Her pupils contracted as she looked at Pei Xiao. He was also staring at her. "What did you do? Do you need me to keep you?" His voice was icy and sharp. Ji Yuyan's breath quickened in panic, "And no, Pei Zong." Her lips trembled as she could hardly hear her own voice. Remembering the conversation he had with Luo Yang earlier, her mind became increasingly muddled, almost short-circuiting entirely. Pei Xiao stared at her in silence, clearly waiting for a reasonable explanation. Ji Yuyan, struggling to hold herself together, lowered her head and closed her eyes. Pei Zong, I know I was wrong. Oh? You've been diligent and meticulous in your work. What have you done wrong? It was rare for the usually taciturn man to praise an employee, but for Ji Yin, this praise felt more like a death sentence. Just as she was unsure how to continue her explanation, another message from Yang Chu popped up. Why aren't you speaking? Did Pei Zong find out? Once again, the word find out was truncated. First, keep you, and now, find out. These messages were heavy with meaning. Ji Yin's face alternated between green and white, and her breathing became shallow and rapid. She gathered her strength and finally met Pei Xiao's piercing gaze. Her voice was barely a whisper. I took a part-time job during my vacation. What? Pei Xiao raised an eyebrow, his expression showing a hint of confusion. Ji Yin's nails nearly dug into her palms as she fought to remain calm. Pei Zong, it was a part-time job unrelated to the company. I guarantee it won't affect the company's interests. She was Pei Xiao's executive assistant at the Pei Group, but she was also a sculptor in her spare time. Officially, the company prohibited employees from taking on other work. But now, to Ji Yin, this part-time job seemed insignificant compared to what had happened that night. Chapter 6, Is Your Salary Not Enough? The air fell silent. Pei Xiao's deep, cold eyes stared at the tense Ji Yin, silently scrutinizing her as if trying to discern the truth behind her words. Ji Yin nervously glanced at him, her palms soon drenched in sweat. She felt like she was about to go insane and desperately prayed that Yang Chu would stop sending messages. Just when she thought she couldn't hold on any longer, Pei Xiao's cold voice finally broke the silence. What part-time job? Ji Yin replied, sculpting. What's that? Pei Xiao clearly didn't understand the term right away. Ji Yin explained, it's 3D wall art. It had nothing to do with her work at the company, not even remotely. She cautiously watched Pei Xiao's expression, but his gaze was as unreadable as ever. Ji Yin wasn't sure whether she had passed this hurdle or not. Pei Xiao raised his cold eyelids to glance at her, then took a drag from the cigarette in his hand. Is your salary not enough? No, it's not that. I just enjoy it. She liked it, so she took on a part-time job. Feeling the chill emanating from him, Ji Yin lowered her head, wiping her nose as she tried to suppress her emotions. Her voice came out small and cat-like, if you don't approve, I won't do it anymore. When she joined the company, HR had made it clear that employees weren't allowed to take on part-time work elsewhere. They probably feared that competitors might poach their talents. Ji Yin thought Pei Xiao would give her a formal warning, but he didn't continue the conversation. Instead, he said in a low voice, you can leave now. Leave? Ji Yin was confused as she looked up at him, unsure what exactly this situation meant. Pei Xiao's long fingers were tapping on his laptop as if she no longer mattered. He didn't even spare her a second glance. Ji Yin didn't dare linger, feeling like she had narrowly avoided a disaster. She quickly left the CEO's office and didn't breathe easy until she reached the elevator. That had truly scared her. If Pei Xiao had asked about that night even a little more, she might not have been able to get out of it. When she met Yang Chu, Ji Yin's face was still pale. Yang Chu immediately grabbed her arm, pulling her toward the street to hail a taxi. As they walked, she grumbled, didn't you say it would only take half an hour? I sent you messages, but you didn't reply. Ji Yin felt her head nearly explode as soon as Yang Chu mentioned the messages. Seeing her friend silent, Yang Chu grew concerned and squeezed her hand. What's going on? You don't look well. Are you sick? I'm not sick. Why did everyone assume she was sick whenever her face looked bad? She wasn't sick, she was just scared out of her wits. Yang Chu raised an eyebrow. Then what's wrong with you? You really don't look good. Ji Yin sighed. I'm scared. Scared? Yang Chu stared at her in shock. She had only gone to the office to modify a contract. How could it have scared her this much? In a split second, Yang Chu seemed to figure it out, and her face turned serious. It couldn't be Pei Zong, right? Ji Yin's eyes instantly reddened. Seeing that her friend was on the verge of tears, Yang Chu's heart squeezed. Could he have really found out? Ji Yin shook her head. No, it's just that the messages you sent me. Pei Zong saw them. Yang Chu froze. The messages she had sent to Ji Yuyan flashed through her mind. Aside from urging her to hurry, there had also been some probing questions. The air around them grew heavy, and the only sound that filled it was the rush of passing cars on the street. Yang Chu's face turned pale. Did Pei Zong find anything? Ji Yuyan's face stiffened. Her eyes welled up with tears again as she choked out, he probably didn't find anything, but he's still looking for the woman from that night. Yang Chu's nerves snapped taut. Ji Yuyan looked at her with tearful eyes and asked, "Can you just call me when you need something at work from now on? No more messages, please." She couldn't afford for more messages to be sent. Those messages were far too suggestive. If this kept happening, she'd have a heart attack from sheer fear. Yang Chu nodded. "Don't worry, I won't send you any more messages." She wouldn't dare do that again. But the question lingered. Had Pei Xiao really discovered something? Chapter 7. Want to quit? No. Originally, the two agreed to go shopping, but now that they knew Pei Xiao was still looking for the woman from that night, they were in no mood. After returning to the dormitory together, they were all listless. Yang Chu collapsed on the small sofa in the bedroom. Yin, let's quit quickly." Ji Yuyan looked at Yang Chu. "No, my monthly mortgage is almost 20,000, I can't afford to quit." Yang Chu's face darkened. Holding the pillow in his arms for several times, he couldn't calm himself down. "Why don't you sell their house?" Yang Chu looked at Ji Yuyan. Without the mortgage, he wouldn't be afraid of quitting. As long as Ji Yuyan quit, Pei Xiao wouldn't be implicated. This method sounds a bit selfish, but it can save their lives. Ji Yuyan, their house is less than a year old, it can't be sold. Well, to buy a house in Gangcheng, you have to hold the property rights for 2 years before you can resell it. Yang Chu wants to die now. Ji Yuyan has a mortgage of more than 10,000 yuan every month, and all her cards have been confiscated by her father. She was told not to go back until she learned something from Pei's. So she is a rich second generation, and now she is actually supporting herself with her own salary. Anyway, neither of them can afford to quit their jobs. They looked at each other, and their hearts and spleens were trembling. After thinking about it, they still had to hide this matter from Pei Xiao. "Then you should be careful next time." "Got it." As soon as Yang Chu finished speaking, Ji Yuyan looked at her excitedly. "I can apply for a transfer to another department." Yang Chu's face darkened. "Did you forget? You were transferred to him by President Pei himself." At that time, Ji Yuyan was an assistant in the business department. One day, Pei Xiao saw her and transferred her to his side as an assistant. At that time, all the female employees in the company thought that Pei Xiao had a crush on Ji Yuyan. But later they found out that Ji Yuyan was just working and had nothing to do with Pei Xiao, so the discussion subsided. But even if she had nothing to do with Pei Xiao, she was someone Pei Xiao transferred to his side himself. If she applied for a change of department, it would not be as simple as just getting approval from the HR department. When Ji Yuyan heard Yang Chu's words, her face fell again. What should I do then? As long as she thought of Pei Xiao still looking for the woman from that night, Ji Yuyan did not dare to think about how to face Pei Xiao next. "Yang Chu, I can only pretend that nothing happened. But I'm scared." Ji Yuyan burst into tears. Yang Chu looked at her useless look and did not understand why Pei Xiao transferred her to his side at that time. He snorted. "Who is not afraid? I tell you, if he finds out it's you, it will also implicate me, so cheer up." After discussing it over and over, it seems that there is no other way now, so Ji Yuyan can only continue to grit her teeth and persevere. Ji Yuyan's tears fell, and Yang Chu coaxed her distressfully. "Be good, bear it." Ji Yuyan's tears were even more fierce, and she was trembling all over. In order to comfort Ji Yuyan, Yang Chu took her to eat a lot of delicious food at night to calm her down. Coaxed her to go to work the next day. In the morning, the elevator of the company was crowded. Ji Yuyan waited for several shifts but couldn't get in. Looking at the time on her phone, she was almost late. She was anxious, thinking that Pei Xiao would arrive half an hour early every day. She gritted her teeth and walked towards the elevator for the president. The elevator rose from the basement, and the elevator door opened with a ding. Ji Yuyan subconsciously wanted to go in. When her eyes touched the people in the elevator, her heart instinctively trembled. President Pei. This time, she really wanted to kill herself. Pei Xiao glanced at her coldly and said nothing. Ji Yuyan turned around subconsciously, and just as she took a step, she heard Luo Yang standing behind Pei Xiao shouting, "Assistant Ji Yu, come in." Luo Yang knew that Ji Yuyan was afraid of Pei Xiao. They had worked together for so long, and there was no relief at all. Why did she look more and more afraid now? Chapter 8 10,000 Yuan Hush Money. I don't know why Pei Xiao kept her by his side. Is it because she was afraid of him and didn't dare to be crazy like his previous assistants? Luo Yang felt that this was really possible. Ji Yuyin turned back with a tense body. I dropped something, I'd better take the employee elevator. After telling the lie, Ji Yuyin was about to run away. Come in if I tell you to. Pei Xiao said coldly. Ji Yuyin. The big boss spoke. She didn't dare to disobey, so she could only go in tightly. The elevator slowly rose. Ji Yuyin stood on Pei Xiao's left-hand side, her back directly against the elevator, trying to minimize her presence. Pei Xiao looked at her and frowned. Go to the finance department and bring up the report. Okay. Ji Yuyin stood up straight. When the elevator reached the finance floor, Ji Yuyin ran out in a flash, and her back looked like she was escaping. Pei Xiao. Luo Yang. When the elevator door closed, the cold light in Pei Xiao's eyes kept flashing. Luo Yang felt the oppressive atmosphere and didn't understand why Pei Xiao was angry again. I just thought that Ji Yuyin should have been good at sports when she was in school. Ji Yuyin stood in the corridor outside the finance room, patting her chest for a long time before calming down. People really have to abide by the rules. She would never dare to sneak into the president's elevator again. After taking the report upstairs, Ji Yuyin had sorted out her mood. Just when she was about to go to the president's office, Luo Yang called her. Assistant Ji Yu, I have a few questions for you. Come to my office. But President Pei asked me. President Pei has gone to the meeting. Luo Yang interrupted her directly. Ji Yuyin glanced in the direction of the president's office, nodded to Luo Yang, and followed him. Entering Luo Yang's office, Luo Yang closed the door. Okay. Ji Yuyin closed the door and walked to the desk. Luo Yang made a gesture of invitation, and Ji Yuyin nodded and sat down. Ji Yuyin asked, Director Luo, is there anything I can do for you? Luo Yang did not answer her directly, but lit a cigarette first, revealing a cold and noble character in his bones. When she first joined the company, Ji Yuyin once thought that Luo Yang was not an employee, but looked more like a rich second generation. Now this feeling is even stronger. Luo Yang took a puff of the cigarette in his hand and asked, Boss Pei said that night at the Pei International Hotel, did you check the surveillance? Ji Yuyin. The sudden question frightened her hands holding the folder and she dropped the documents on the ground. The little heart that had been organized outside the finance office now beat uncontrollably. Hurriedly bent over to pick up the documents. Luo Yang looked at her panic and frowned. Ji Yuyin picked up the documents and nodded. Yes, Boss Pei said he wanted to find someone, so I went to check. Has no one really entered Boss Pei's room? No. Ji Yuyin nodded firmly. However, she could not see how pale her face was at the moment, and her heart almost stopped bleeding. Luo Yang looked at her with a sharp gaze that seemed to have penetrating power. Seeing him looking at her like this, Ji Yuyin became even more flustered, but she thought of the dilemma she and Yang Chu were in. She could only be more determined. I watched it from beginning to end. Really? Luo Yang's tone was deep. She retracted her gaze, looked at the burning pipe in her hand, and then said, That's strange, there was indeed a woman in President Pei's room that night. Ji Yuyin's breath was choked. Her face turned even paler. She wanted to disappear right where she was, only to hear Luo Yang continue, What else did you do after you watched the surveillance? No, I left directly after checking it out. Luo Yang's eyes looked at her even more sharply. And Ji Yuyin felt very uneasy when he looked at her like this. Because she and Yang Chu didn't watch the surveillance, but destroyed it directly. Yang Chu even gave the security guard in the surveillance room 10,000 yuan as a hush money. Chapter 9 Will he and Luo Yang investigate themselves together? I hope that the security guard didn't betray them, but Director Luo would ask these questions, so does that mean he doesn't know yet? Ji Yuyin looked at Luo Yang uncertainly, but Luo Yang's eyes were too deep, comparable to those of President Pei. She didn't know why he caught her and asked these questions. Luo Yang flicked the ash from his cigarette. President Pei gave you the pendant that fell in the room. Where is it? Pendant? That was left to her by her grandmother. She had always hung it around her neck before. After that night, she never dared to wear it again and put it in her important things box. Ji Yuyin's palms were sweating nervously, I thought it belonged to the previous tenant and thought it was not important, so I didn't know where I lost it. She didn't dare to lie and say that she gave it to the hotel front desk. Since Pei Xiao is now checking the woman that night and said that she was at the hotel front desk, Luo Yang will definitely call to ask. But when Luo Yang heard this, he said directly, "Then please help Assistant Jiyu to find it carefully. That thing is very important now." Jiyu Yin's breathing was rapid and she didn't dare to say that she didn't know where it was. I don't know if it was her illusion, but I always felt that Luo Yang's seriousness today could be compared with Pei Xiao. Under his oppressive aura, Jiyu Yin could only nod her head. Finally, Jiyu Yin didn't know how she got out of Luo Yang's office. After returning to her workbench, she forced herself to calm down, but thinking of Luo Yang's seriousness, she couldn't calm down. From Luo Yang's attitude, it can be seen that Pei Xiao must find the woman that night. What to do? Jiyu Yin kept thinking about these three words. She picked up her phone and sent a message to Yang Chu. "Chu, I feel like we're done." Yang Chu quickly replied, "It's you, don't drag me into this." Even across the screen, she could feel Yang Chu's face trying to stay out of trouble. Without waiting for her to reply, Yang Chu said, "Remember, that night had nothing to do with you. You must remember, and delete our information." After repeated instructions, he didn't forget to ask her to destroy the body. Jiyu Yin. Looking at Yang Chu's reply, her head was even bigger. Jiyu Yin, who was terrified, tried hard to get into work mode, but she couldn't do anything. Until Pei Xiao came out, seeing his gloomy face, Jiyu Yin changed her expression to serious in a second. She stood up respectfully. "Boss Pei, the report has been placed on your desk." Pei Xiao looked at her coldly and said nothing. Jiyu Yin only dared to look at him for a second, and then quickly lowered her head. Seeing that she was still so afraid of him, Pei Xiao's face became even gloomier, and finally said nothing and walked in. The financial manager went in quickly, and then heard overwhelming scolding from the office. Jiyu Yin looked at the closed office door in fear, feeling a little sympathetic to the financial manager, and even more sympathetic to herself. The financial manager came out soon with a dusty face, and Jiyu Yin quickly retracted her gaze and pretended to be busy with her own things. The financial manager walked towards her and said, "Assistant Jiyu, Boss Pei asked you to go in." "Oh, okay." Hearing that Pei Xiao was looking for her, Jiyu Yin's heart trembled, but she still got up and went in quickly. The atmosphere in the office was very depressing. Jiyu Yin clenched her little hands and stepped forward. "Boss Pei, you are looking for me. Luo Yang is looking for you." Jiyu Yin's breath was choked. She clenched her fists even tighter. Thinking of how she fooled him that day without changing her expression, Jiyu Yin felt that she was really finished. Because now, this matter will not pass so easily. Nodding with a chill on her back, "Yes, Director Luo has looked for me. Next, you will investigate what happened that night with him, and learn from him." Jiyu Yin shuddered when she heard it. Was he asking her to learn, or to confess? She raised her eyes carefully, but met Pei Xiao's deep and cold eyes. It shouldn't be asking her to confess, because Boss Pei doesn't have the time to joke with her. Chapter 10. Planning to promote her to the first assistant. Pei Xiao didn't ask about it for a month after that day, and she thought it was over. Now it feels like this matter is getting more and more difficult. Jiyu Yin couldn't nod or not nod at the moment. Seeing that she didn't speak, Pei Xiao glanced at her coldly. "What? You don't want to go? Really don't want to go?" But under Pei Xiao's majesty, Jiyu Yin didn't dare to say no at all. Without waiting for her to speak, Pei Xiao continued, "With your current ability, you still need to be promoted to the position of the first assistant." Jiyu Yin raised her head suddenly, her eyes full of shock. So letting her learn from Luo Yang, in fact, is that President Pei wants to promote her? That salary is 4 times the current salary. Thinking of her crushing mortgage, this is undoubtedly a bright temptation for Jiyu Yin. But then she lowered her head. "Don't we have Director Luo? Luo Yang will leave at the end of the year and return to the Luo family to inherit the family business." Jiyu Yin's breathing tightened. He is really a rich second generation. I thought Director Luo looked like a rich second generation before, but I didn't expect that my vision was quite accurate. How come everyone has a family property to inherit, but she doesn't? When I think of this, I feel that I deserve to work harder. Okay, I will study hard. Jiyu Yin blurted out. However, when she thought of the first thing to learn, Jiyu Yin's face froze immediately. Is she and director Luo learning to investigate how she spent the night in President Pei's room? But once it's said, it's like water spilled, and it's impossible to take it back. Pei Xiao didn't understand why she suddenly had a money grubber expression, but seeing that she agreed readily, his brows relaxed a little unconsciously. Go out. Okay, President Pei. Ji Yuyin's high spirits were gone. Now she was like an eggplant hit by frost, wilting. Seeing her emotional fluctuations, Pei Xiao frowned again, glanced at her back but didn't say anything. Lunch time. Ji Yuyin arranged lunch for Pei Xiao before going to eat with Yang Chu. Usually, the two of them ate in the cafeteria, but today, because of the messages in the morning, they went to the restaurant they often went to. After sitting down in a secluded place, Yang Chu began to ask, "What's going on? What does it mean that you sent me that message? Boss Pei is still investigating the woman that night. I know that. And he asked me and Luo Yang to investigate together." Yang Chu was shocked. What kind of sure field is this now? That day, she was asked to find someone, and today, she was asked to find someone together. This is simply too terrifying. Then you didn't reveal the truth? Yang Chu asked in a tense tone. In her heart, Ji Yuyin was just a timid child, and she didn't know how Boss Pei liked her at that time. He even personally transferred her to his side as an assistant. Ji Yuyin sniffed. No, I held on. What a good sentence, held on. But she couldn't tell when she would not be able to hold on in this situation. Yang Chu held his forehead. This is not a solution. Luo Yang asked me to give him the angel pendant. Angel pendant? The one you wear. Yang Chu looked at her bare neck. It was only then that he realized that she had taken it off without knowing when. Ji Yuyin, I fell into the room that night. Now Yang Chu really wanted to die. She hadn't heard Ji Yuyin say it before, but now she felt her scalp tingling after hearing it. No wonder Ji Yuyin said it was over before. Isn't this the situation where it's over? Took a deep breath and asked, Boss Pei, I haven't seen you wearing that pendant, have I? I don't know. Ji Yuyin's mind was blank. Yang Chu was also at a loss now. In summer, people wear less clothes, so many people know that Ji Yuyin has an angel pendant. As the president, Pei Xiao couldn't look at an employee carefully, but the current situation was still very scary. Yang Chu was angry when she looked at Ji Yuyin now. Did you give it to Luo Yang? Chapter 11. I just want to resign now. Ji Yuyin shook her head. Not yet. She always wore the pendant, and many people must have seen it in the summer. She was afraid that Luo Yang would investigate the company. Yang Chu, that must not be handed over. But Director Luo is very tough. Ji Yuyin thought of Luo Yang's attitude when he asked for that thing. Yang Chu was going crazy. She was just saying that she couldn't give it to him. Luo Yang's ability was obvious to everyone in the company. Whenever President Pei wanted to investigate something, he would ask Luo Yang to do it, and he never let President Pei down. If this thing is not handed over to Luo Yang now, it will definitely arouse Luo Yang's suspicion. But if it is handed over, it's so annoying. Yang Chu was so annoyed now. Ji Yuyin was also having a headache now, and wished that time would go back and wipe out the incident that night. Seeing Yang Chu's irritable look, Ji Yuyin asked nervously, should I hand it in or not? I have to hand it in now. If I don't hand it in, Luo Yang will definitely be suspicious, and once Luo Yang is suspicious, it will be a big trouble. And now Ji Yuyin is asked to investigate together. Yang Chu is really worried that she will not be able to hold on and admit it directly. I dare not think about the result, it is simply too miserable. Ji Yuyin rubbed her hands, but there are many colleagues who have seen me wearing that pendant. So that thing, if you ask a little bit within the company, it is easy to find out that it is hers. Yang Chu picked up the water cup in front of her and drank a big mouthful of water. Then she looked at Ji Yuyin with despair. Then tell me, what should I do now? Ji Yuyin looked at her with tears in her eyes. Yang Chu, don't cry, I'm not in the mood to comfort you now. I'm really scared. Yeah, I know. Yang Chu nodded. Now not only the timid Ji Yuyin is scared, but she has also been scared to death. The dishes came up quickly, but neither of them was in the mood to eat. Yang Chu looked at Ji Yuyin, who was about to cry, with a tangled look. Tell me, did Mr. Pei know that it was you that night? Did he tease you on purpose? After saying this, Yang Chu wanted to slap himself in the face. Because in their hearts, Pei Xiao was not a boss who would joke. But seeing Ji Yuyin's cowardly look, she usually wanted to tease her. What if Mr. Pei had a bad taste? When Ji Yuyan heard Pei Xiao teasing her, she rolled her eyes at Yang Chu. He is not a joker. She had worked part-time in many places in school before, and Pei Xiao was the most fierce boss she had ever seen. Yang Chu nodded. That's right. So at the moment, no matter how you look at Pei Xiao, you don't know. So what should we do now? Let Ji Yuyan, who slept with Mr. Pei, investigate what happened that night. What kind of surer field is this? The more Yang Chu thought about it, the more he wanted to die. The two of them didn't come up with a good solution until the end of lunchtime. On their way back to the company, Ji Yuyan turned directly towards the dormitory, and Yang Chu grabbed her. What are you doing? I want to resign. Ji Yuyan now doesn't even have the courage to go back to the company. Yang Chu is disappointed. I won't pay the mortgage. Ji Yuyan. Thinking of the mortgage, the feet that had been turned out were reluctantly retracted. People really can't bear huge debts. She is now really a poor person who can't even resign. Finally, Ji Yuyan resigned herself to her fate and returned to the company with Yang Chu. As soon as she entered the elevator, she received a call from Pei Xiao. Ji Yuyan answered the phone and her tone returned to the formal seriousness. Boss Pei. Yang Chu glanced at Ji Yuyan. Although this girl is timid, she is still very good at pretending. She is obviously afraid of Boss Pei to death, but she can always pretend to be serious and solemn. Chapter 12. Boss Pei never cares about her recklessness. Pei Xiao's deep voice came from the other end of the phone. Go to Shanghaiuan to get me a document, and bring the purple tie in the closet. Okay. Ji Yuyan responded respectfully, pressing the nearest floor of the elevator. After hanging up the phone, the elevator door opened at the right time, and said to Yang Chu, let me use the car keys, I want to go to Shanghaiuan. Boss Pei is really always asking you to go to Shanghaiuan, but not giving you a car. Complaining is complaining, but Yang Chu still took out the key from her bag and handed it to Ji Yuyan. Ji Yuyan took the key. It's just something to take, and I will reimburse you for the car fare later. Oil and subway fares are two different prices. Yang Chu muttered. Just dissatisfied with Pei Xiao's company's reimbursement system. In her words, it's quite stingy. Ji Yuyan smiled. Then I'll give you the reimbursement. You have a mortgage of nearly 20,000 yuan a month. What can you give me to make up for it? Ji Yuyan, then you still say it. Is it not okay to talk about it? Humph. Yang Chu continued to complain. Ji Yuyan felt a headache. This rich lady has never stopped saying that Mr. Pei is stingy since she entered the company. But in fact, from her words, you can also hear that she is also fussy. The elevator stopped at the nearest floor. Ji Yuyan got out of the elevator, and then took the elevator to the basement. Shanghaiuan is where Pei Xiao often stays, and Ji Yuyan often comes to help him get things. The black and grey decoration is clean and elegant, and because of the proper matching, there is no sense of oppression. Ji Yuyan first went to the study to get the documents, and then went to the cloakroom with ease and opened the tie counter. As soon as the door was opened, there was a pop sound, and something fell out. Ji Yuyan bent down to pick up the things on the ground, took it in his hand and looked at it. At a glance, his mind exploded with a boom. It was a box of unopened condoms. Ji Yuyan. The memories that she had been suppressing during this period suddenly rushed into her mind. The man's scorching temperature, with a trembling breath, filled Ji Yuyan's nerves. The condom in her hand was like a hot yam, and she quickly put the thing in. This President Pei. Usually he looked noble and abstinent. How could there be such a thing? Ji Yuyan didn't dare to speculate too much, and quickly took the documents and left Shanghaiuan. After tossing back and forth, it was already an hour later when she returned to the company. Ji Yuyan knocked on the door of the office, but there was no movement inside. Ji Yuyan opened the door gently as usual. Pei Xiao was not in the office. Ji Yuyan put the documents on the desk and then took the tie to the lounge. She used to be like this when Pei Xiao was not there. But today, when she pushed open the door of the lounge and saw the picture inside, her eyebrows jumped. Then, her hands reacted faster than her brain. Bang tilde. With a deafening sound, the door of the lounge was slammed shut by her. Ji Yuyan's face turned red and white, and her heart was beating. She didn't expect Pei Xiao to take a shower in broad daylight. Boss Pei, I'm bringing you a tie. Ji Yuyan hurriedly explained, threw the tie on the desk, and ran out of the office. Because it was too fast, she didn't see clearly at all, and ran into an embrace. Ji Yuyan. The already tight little heart was now even more chaotic. He raised his head and met Luo Yang's gloomy eyes. At this moment, his face looked very unhappy. He helped Ji Yuyan stand up and scolded in a deep voice, "How long will Assistant Ji Yu be reckless?" I'm sorry, I didn't mean it." Ji Yuyan apologized quickly. Luo Yang was also helpless with her recklessness, and was always so reckless. But Boss Pei never cared about it, which was really rare. Chapter 13. Dare not admit that I saw him taking a shower. Luo Yang's eyes were too sharp. Thinking of what they had to cooperate with now, Ji Yuyan couldn't calm down at all. Crouching down, trying to reduce his presence as much as possible, Luo Yang held his forehead. "Work." "Yes, Director Luo." Hearing Luo Yang's words, Ji Yuyan seemed to have been pardoned and hurried back to her workbench. Luo Yang looked at her deeply, said nothing more, and went straight into Pei Xiao's office. Ji Yuyan tried hard to get into the working state, but the scene in the lounge kept flashing in her mind. It seems that she really can't be too casual in the future, otherwise she will really get into trouble. Luo Yang and Pei Xiao didn't know what they talked about in the office. Luo Yang didn't come out until they talked for a full hour. As soon as he left, the internal line on Ji Yuyan's desk rang, and she subconsciously looked at the president's office. Through the window, she met Pei Xiao's cold and gloomy eyes. Ji Yuyan lowered her head in fear and answered the phone. "Hello. Come in." A low and sinister voice came from the other end of the phone, and then the call was hung up. Ji Yuyan tightened her grip on the phone, and she felt her heart was about to jump out. She picked up the meeting materials for an hour and a half later and mustered up all her courage to go in. The moment the door opened, she clearly felt the low pressure in the office, and her nerves were even more tense. "Mr. Pei, this is the meeting materials for a while, please take a look." After saying that, she respectfully put the materials on the desk and pushed them to Pei Xiao. The man's bony fingers tapped rhythmically on the mahogany desk. And Ji Yuyan's heart kept rising and falling because of this rhythm. Seeing Pei Xiao not speaking, Ji Yuyan's heart was even more tense, almost beyond her tolerance. After a long time, just when she was about to give up, Pei Xiao finally spoke. "What did you see just now?" "No, I didn't see anything." Ji Yuyan quickly denied. Saying she saw his naked body now is definitely as serious as that night. She didn't want it to end. She raised her eyes nervously and met Pei Xiao's deep eyes. She didn't know if it was Ji Yuyan's illusion. At this moment, she didn't seem to feel much coldness in his eyes. But it was just a glance, and she quickly lowered her head. "I really didn't see anything." "Really?" The man's tone was even colder. Ji Yuyan nodded firmly. Just like the deception he had done after that night, she tried her best to keep her face straight. "Heh." Pei Xiao laughed softly. This was the first time Ji Yuyan heard him laugh like this, cold and evil, which made Ji Yuyan feel even more unbearable. Pei Xiao didn't say anything else, retracted his gaze on her, and said in a deep voice, "Get out." "Okay." Ji Yuyan nodded and ran out of the office quickly. Pei Xiao looked at her bunny-like back, and the arc of his mouth became softer. Ji Yuyan came out of the office and was called into the office by Luo Yang's assistant before she sat down. There was another person in Luo Yang's office at this moment. "Ji Yuyan, Director Luo, you called me. Come and take a look. Is this the video you saw in the hotel that night?" Ji Yuyan. "Video?" "The video that she and Yang Chu destroyed together." Her mind exploded with a bang, and her face turned pale. She looked at Luo Yang woodenly, her mind was completely stuck, and she couldn't react at all. Luo Yang frowned when he saw her not moving. "Assistant Ji Yu. You called me. I asked you to watch the video." Ji Yuyan's breath was choked. How could she not watch it? Now she had only one thought in her mind: escape, and she had to escape. Chapter 14. Will the video be repaired? But when she saw the sharpness in Luo Yang's eyes, she trembled all over, and the idea she had just thought of was forgotten out of fear. "Are you okay?" Seeing that she hadn't moved, Luo Yang's tone became sharper, and Ji Yuyan came back to her senses instantly. "No, I'm fine." Quickly approaching Luo Yang's desk, Luo Yang turned his laptop towards her, and the picture of her supporting Pei Xiao instantly appeared inside. Looking at the time, it was the time when she sent Pei Xiao back. Ji Yuyan's mind went blank, and she almost lost her reaction. But fortunately, after 5 seconds of the video starting, there were dots. It was obviously damaged. When she saw this picture, Ji Yuyan breathed a sigh of relief instantly. Nodding to Luo Yang, "It's this video. Yang Chu and I watched it until the morning, and we didn't see anyone go in again." Because she was in the room all night, she knew better than anyone whether anyone else went in. But the video was destroyed. As long as she didn't say it, Yang Chu didn't say it, and the bribed security guard didn't say it, no one would know about it. Just when Ji Yuyan was feeling relieved, Luo Yang looked at the man who had been sitting on the chair opposite the desk and said, "This is it, fix it." Ji Yuyan's heart, which had just been relieved, suddenly froze again. She looked at Luo Yang in confusion, and then looked at the man in black casual clothes. "Who is this?" "He is Qin Han, the technical director of Jiancheng branch." Qin Han. Ji Yuyan has always been familiar with this name because he is the best technician in the company. Boss Pei wanted to transfer him to the headquarters several times, but Qin Han never agreed. "I didn't expect that Luo Yang would even use Qin Han to find the woman that night." Qin Han took Luo Yang's computer, whistled in a dandy way and said, "Leave it to me, I will definitely get it done for you." The clothes on Ji Yuyan's back were instantly soaked with cold sweat. She felt that she was really going to die this time, and the air around her seemed to be sucked dry, making her suffocate. She finally regained her sanity, but she was still dumb. "Anything else?" Ji Yuyan asked stutteringly. Luo Yang shook his head. "Go and do your own thing first." "Okay." Ji Yuyan nodded. Try to stay calm and turn around and leave Luo Yang's office. After leaving, she immediately ran to the security passage, closed the door tightly, and then took out her phone to call Yang Chu. Yang Chu was meeting a client outside. When she received Ji Yuyan's call, she hurriedly said, "I'm very busy now." Chu, we are really finished this time." "You have said this many times, isn't it over?" Yang Chu couldn't stand Ji Yuyan's constant startling. Ji Yuyan's tone was crying. "Luo Yang called Qin Han, and now he is repairing the video we destroyed that day in the office." "What?" Yang Chu on the other end of the phone jumped up in shock. Ji Yuyan was anxious and turned around. "What should I do? What should I do now?" She was completely panicked. Once Luo Yang repaired the video, Pei Xiao would also know that she didn't come out of the room that night. In Pei's, seducing the CEO is an unforgivable sin. "Yang Chu, I don't know either." "Don't say." Ji Yuyan panicked. Yang Chu was also scared. If the video is repaired and it is found that Ji Yuyan is in Pei Xiao's room, then she who destroyed the video will also be implicated. Yang Chu feels that knowing Ji Yuyan is the calamity of her life, and it is a very difficult calamity to overcome. Hearing that Yang Chu didn't know what to do, Ji Yuyan burst into tears. "Wu Tilder. Go and ask for leave immediately, I'll go back now." Yang Chu said to Ji Yuyan anxiously. Now things are getting more and more out of control, and it is obviously not something they can solve by lying. Chapter 15. One wave just calms down, another wave rises. Hang up the phone. Ji Yuyan cried for a long time before wiping away her tears. When she came out of the emergency passage, her eyes were still red. Chu ran from the secretarial department, saw her and asked with concern, "Assistant Ji Yu, are you crying?" No. Ji Yuyan shook her head, her face serious. Chu Ran nodded, patted her shoulder and said, "If you feel too stressed, take a short vacation to rest. Everyone in Pei knows that it is not easy to make a living under Pei Xiao. Although the salary is twice that of other places, the pressure at the same time is strong. People who are not depressed are strong." Ji Yuyan looked at Chu Ran gratefully. "Thank you, I will ask for leave now." If she doesn't ask for leave, she will really die, scared to death. Chu Ran nodded, comforted her a few more words before going back to work. Ji Yuyan returned to her workbench and wrote a leave note and walked towards Luo Yang's office. I don't know how the video is repaired, but the first step for her to ask for leave is to get Luo Yang's approval first. Then she said hello to President Pei, and she could leave. Just as he was about to knock on the door of Luo Yang's office, he heard Qin Han's solemn voice from inside. "It's seriously damaged. Can't it be repaired?" Luo Yang's tone suddenly became heavier. Ji Yuyan raised his hand and quickly stopped. He pricked up his ears to listen to the conversation inside. "Qin Han, can't repair it either. That's great." However, before Ji Yuyan could feel relieved, he heard Qin Han say, "I need some time, give me 3 days. It takes you 3 days to repair it. It seems that the person who damaged it is quite capable." Luo Yang sneered. Ji Yuyan's face was tense, and the stone in his heart was neither up nor down for a while. Although Qin Han has not repaired the video yet, who knows if he can repair it in 3 days. Qin Han said in a teasing tone, he is a man of great ability. Got it, I'll give you 3 days. Ji Yuyan turned back to her workbench, took out her mobile phone and sent a message to Yang Chu, don't come back, the crisis is temporarily resolved. She felt that most of the things that Qin Han said he couldn't repair could not be repaired. But that was Qin Han. Qin Han can't repair it. Yang Chu quickly replied. Ji Yuyan replied with a hum, and replied to Yang Chu's message urgently, great. As long as Qin Han can't repair it, no one can repair it. Compared to Ji Yuyan's uncertainty, Yang Chu was very confident. Hearing Yang Chu say this, Ji Yuyan's heart was half relieved, but he was still a little nervous. After all, this is not the final result. Another reply, but Qin Han said, give him 3 days. Don't worry, as long as Qin Han couldn't handle it at that time, he basically can't handle it. On this point, Yang Chu was very confident. Ji Yuyan thought about it, and it seemed to be true. Qin Han has been a famous technician in the company for many years. As long as he said it was impossible, no one could surpass him to complete it. Well, I got it. Ji Yuyan's reply also became relaxed. Neither of them said anything else, and they were busy all afternoon. Ji Yuyan also temporarily dispelled the fear in her heart because of this business. When it was almost time to get off work, Pei Xiao called her and Luo Yang to the office together. Pei Xiao took a puff of the cigarette in his hand and asked, how is the investigation going? Ji Yuyan didn't say anything. She was not so scared now, so her face was relatively relaxed. Luo Yang was the opposite of her, with a serious face. Qin Han needs 3 days. Hearing that Qin Han needed 3 days, Pei Xiao's hand holding the cigarette trembled, and he glanced at Luo Yang coldly. Obviously telling him what Qin Han meant when he said he needed time. Luo Yang also understood the meaning and continued, Qilan will arrive in Hong Kong tonight. Qilan? Aren't they talking about that scary hacker? Ji Yuyan looked at Luo Yang, and at this moment, his heart was in turmoil again. Are they not going to give up until they find the person who happened that night? Chapter 16 Marry a Female? In a short period of time, Ji Yuyan's heart was under the limit of ups and downs, and her head kept buzzing. She felt that she really couldn't hold on. However, Pei Xiao, even if Luo Yang said that he had found the most powerful person, the gloom between his eyebrows still did not dissipate. He only heard him say in a deep voice, it's too late. Ji Yuyan didn't understand the words, it's too late, but Luo Yang knew very well what it meant. They have been away from Nanchang for more than a month. The woman's belly, I'm afraid there has been movement, and once that person waits for the desired result, then that is when that woman appears. Some results at that time will be the worst for Pei Xiao. Luo Yang, what should I do now? Pei Xiao will never marry the woman arranged by his stepmother. What to do? Pei Xiao sneered, she has been scheming, isn't she waiting for this moment? Then, just break her calculations. That woman has always wanted him to marry the woman she arranged, so what if he gets married? Ji Yuyan was even more confused. Luo Yang understood Pei Xiao's meaning and asked solemnly, then should I find you a woman to marry? Ji Yuyan's mind was confused, and she choked on her saliva without paying attention. Pei Xiao and Luo Yang both frowned and looked at Ji Yuyan. Ji Yuyan was frightened by these two looks and tried his best to control himself. However, she choked a little bit hard just now and couldn't control it, I'm sorry. After saying something hastily, he hurried out of Pei Xiao's office. It's really so intense. How could they talk about finding a marriage partner so confidently and so naturally? Is that a wedding? It's not like donkeys are mated to each other. If you want to find a female, then find a female. What? Ji Yuyan rushed to the tea room and drank water hurriedly, trying to slow down. The conversation in the office was not interrupted by her sudden disruption. Luo Yang asked Pei Xiao, do you have a suitable candidate? Pei Xiao looked at the cigarette holder in his hand, and the breath on his body became colder and colder. Since his mother left, he has been indifferent to everything, and that woman also wants to control him at all costs. Now, she wants to take the entire Pei family into her pocket. Har har, it depends on whether she has this appetite. Pei Xiao took a puff of the cigarette in his hand and said, let Ji Yuyan bring the household registration book to work tomorrow. Luo Yang was shocked when he heard it, Assistant Ji Yu. Pei Xiao said, Luo Yang's eyes sank, and he probably knew why Pei Xiao chose Ji Yuyin. A country girl, without any background, is easier to control than any daughter of a rich man. Marriage is a stopgap measure now. After getting the key document, all the people involved should go back to where they should go. But, will Assistant Ji Yu agree? Luo Yang asked worriedly. Although Ji Yuyin was reckless, she was a person with strong opinions based on her previous handling of clients. She was a bit nervous, but she was also logical. So she looked afraid of Pei Xiao, but she might not agree to the marriage. When he heard that Ji Yuyin might not agree, Pei Xiao's eyes flashed coldly. Then there's no need for her to stay in Pei's. Luo Yang. Yes, after all, Ji Yuyin didn't handle the incident well that night. So far, only Ji Yuyin had come into contact with the surveillance video, but she insisted that no one had entered Pei's room. And he had to check how the surveillance video was damaged. Chapter 17 Marry Pei? Thinking of the coincidence of the destruction of the surveillance video, Luo Yang looked at Pei Xiao solemnly. Assistant Ji Yu, could it be their wife's people? After all, the surveillance video that was destroyed happened to be the one that night, and Ji Yuyin had seen the full surveillance video. All these are worthy of suspicion. After Luo Yang expressed his suspicion of Ji Yuyin, Pei Xiao sneered, she doesn't have the guts. Luo Yang nodded, that's right. Usually, Ji Yuyin was scared to death when she saw Pei Xiao. The second wife was so sharp and shrewd that it was impossible for her to choose such an unreliable one. Then I'll tell Assistant Ji Yu. This matter must be kept secret internally for the time being. Luo Yang nodded, understood. After all, it was just a marriage of expediency, so it was naturally necessary to hide it. If it was made a big deal. When it was over, there was nothing wrong with President Pei, but no one dared to marry Ji Yuyin again. At this point, Luo Yang couldn't help but have a better impression of his boss. Although he had to use Ji Yuyin temporarily, he also considered her after the divorce. Ji Yuyin finally recovered and returned to her seat, and Luo Yang came over. Come to my office. Okay, Director Luo. Ji Yuyin felt that she was going to be scolded again, but she really didn't mean it just now. Who made them say such shocking things? Entering Luo Yang's office, Ji Yuyin stood at the door. Director Luo. Close the door. Luo Yang said in a deep voice. Ji Yuyin nodded, closed the door, took 2 steps forward, and waited obediently for Luo Yang's next words. Luo Yang made a gesture of invitation, and Ji Yuyin just sat down, and heard Luo Yang say, bring your household registration book to work tomorrow, and go to get married with President Pei. The air was quiet for half a second. Ji Yuyin's breath was choked, and then her saliva successfully choked her again, cough 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 cough. After finally recovering, she started coughing violently again. Luo Yang looked at her uncontrollable emotions and frowned instinctively. He didn't know whether President Pei's choice was right or not. But seeing how generous she is, I think she is also a suitable candidate. Ji Yuyin coughed and her face turned red. She stood up and said, I'm sorry. Then she ran out of the office again. This office used to be a little depressing for her, but why is it like this now? It could make her fall into an absolute collapse anytime and anywhere. Luo Yang. It seems that she needs to improve her ability to hide her emotions. Ji Yuyin coughed so hard in the tea room that she almost coughed out gallbladder, and her throat was sore from coughing. This is simply. Ji Yuyin held it in for a long time, but couldn't think of any words to describe what happened today. She felt that she had heard it wrong, otherwise how could Luo Yang, who was always serious, say such a thing? It must be like this. After a long while, Ji Yuyin sorted out her emotions again and came out of the tea room. At a glance, she saw Luo Yang's assistant waiting in front of her workbench. Seeing her, the assistant said, Director Luo asked you to go directly to President Pei's office. So, she didn't hear it wrong just now. Did they, who are always serious, really come up with such a ridiculous reason? Ji Yuyin wanted to send a message to Yang Chu and call her. However, under the reminder of the assistant, she could only bite the bullet and walk to the president's office. When she pushed open the door, Pei Xiao and Luo Yang's conversation came to an abrupt end, and they all looked at Ji Yuyin. Ji Yuyin felt a little numb at the sight of these 2 burning eyes. The 2 small hands placed on her side were tightly clenched, trying to be respectful. President Pei, Director Luo. Pei Xiao pressed the cigarette butt into the ashtray and said to Ji Yuyin, what did Luo Yang tell you? Say, what did he say? Ji Yuyin's mind was stuck. At this moment, she couldn't look directly at the request they made. Pei Xiao frowned, and a little displeasure flashed in his eyes. Luo Yang hurriedly said, "You will get married tomorrow." "No way." Ji Yin, who was frightened, didn't care about being afraid and blurted out directly. The atmosphere was already depressing, and now because of her refusal, the pressure became even stronger. Pei Xiao glared at Ji Yin coldly, and his tone became even colder. "You don't want to." Ji Yin lowered his head nervously. "Marriage is not a joke." Who would talk about marriage so dryly? Before her grandmother passed away, she told her to find someone with a good temper. It didn't matter if he was good looking or not, but he must be good to her. Let's not talk about whether Pei Xiaofu meets grandma's requirements. They are from two different worlds, and they will definitely not get along. Luo Yang took a breath of cold air. Is Ji Yin's brain broken? Does she think this marriage is serious? Looking at Pei Xiao's increasingly dark face, Luo Yang hurriedly said, "I haven't told her clearly yet. Come with me. With this brain, it's really not okay if you don't say it clearly." This assistant is probably the most difficult assistant Luo Yang has ever led. Ji Yin looked at Luo Yang eagerly, nodded, and followed him out of the door. However, before the two of them opened the office door, Pei Xiao said coldly, "Get married or leave Hong Kong City, you choose." Ji Yin's back stiffened. At this moment, her breath was suffocated. She looked at Luo Yang with grievance, and Luo Yang also heard that Pei Xiao was really angry. Although this marriage does not count, looking at the whole Hong Kong city, how many women are flocking to him? This is probably the first time that he has been rejected so bluntly. Facing Ji Yin's aggrieved eyes, Luo Yang looked away directly, and felt that he could not help her. "I'll talk to her first." Luo Yang gritted his teeth and said another sentence. In fact, whether to talk or not, the result is here. Ji Yin can only accept it or leave Hong Kong City. The two left the office together and returned to Luo Yang's office. "Director Luo, I..." At this moment, Ji Yin didn't know what to say. She felt that after that night with Pei Xiao, her mind was always stuck, and now it was even more confused. Luo Yang picked up the water cup in front of him, looked at her, and said, "You and Mr. Pei just agreed to get married. Agreement marriage." Ji Yin was shocked. "What does this mean?" Luo Yang nodded. "From now on, if anyone from the Pei family asks about what happened that night, you must say that the person in Mr. Pei's room was you." Ji Yin. She looked at Luo Yang stiffly, not understanding at all. Luo Yang looked at her confused look and continued, "Did you really not see the person that night?" "No, no." Ji Yin came back to her senses and shook her head quickly. She felt that she was really scared to death. What kind of sure field is this? It pushed her to the terrible peak again and again. Luo Yang nodded. "It doesn't matter, then from now on you are the woman that night." "But I'm not." Ji Yin was about to cry. She was, but she didn't dare to admit it. Luo Yang's eyes turned cold. "You are." Two words, said firmly and coldly. Without waiting for Ji Yin to shake her head again, Luo Yang continued, "You have to say yes to anyone who asks." "Why? This is your next job. Isn't her job just to be an assistant? Now the content has become to be the wife of President Pei?" Chapter 18. It feels like a forced marriage. Ji Jin pinched her little face and asked, "What if I don't want to?" On the matter of marriage, Grandma repeatedly told her not to make do, let alone force it. Everything is for her happiness. Although it is a show at the moment, Ji Yin is still reluctant. After the words fell, Luo Yang's gloomy eyes became a little colder. "Did you hear what President Pei said just now? So if she refuses again, there is only one outcome. Get out of Hong Kong City." Ji Yin wanted to say something, but met Luo Yang's overly sharp eyes. She knew that the current situation did not allow her to resist, so she could only swallow everything. Seeing that she didn't speak, Luo Yang asked directly, "Where is the household registration book?" "With my sister," Ji Yin said with her head down. Luo Yang glanced at the time on his watch and continued, "I'll give you a day off this afternoon, go get it." I don't know if this is the case, but Ji Yin now feels the taste of forced marriage. For the scene of her own wedding, she thought of ordinary roses and candles, and also thought of sitting together with the other party's parents to discuss the gift. But she never thought of getting married directly with the household registration book. Although she felt threatened, she could only nod. "Then, how long?" Luo Yang raised his eyebrows. How long? Didn't you say that it was just an agreement to get married? Ji Yin, who reacted, knew that he couldn't escape. She could only ask some things as clearly as possible. Speaking of time, Luo Yang frowned. You have to ask President Pei about this. He only knew that he had to stop the woman's thoughts at the moment, but he didn't know how long it would take. Ji Yin's little face was bitter again, because she didn't dare to ask Pei Xiao. Coming out of Luo Yang's office, Ji Yin looked ashen and listless. Pei Xiao was processing documents in the office. The moment he looked up, he saw Ji Yin packing up and leaving through the gap in the blinds. Her listless look made him a little unhappy. Luo Yang came in, and Pei Xiao asked in a deep voice, "Have you agreed?" Luo Yang nodded and said, "Logically, you should say this in person. After all, it's a marriage." However, he threatened people as soon as he opened his mouth. Luo Yang was really afraid that he would threaten people away. Although there are many women in Gangcheng who want to marry him, it is not easy to find a suitable person. Pei Xiao frowned and said nothing. Ji Yin's reluctant look obviously made him a little unhappy. Luo Yang, she has been given a holiday now to get her household registration book. Assistant Ji Yu has a sister here. Pei Xiao only said, and said nothing else. Luo Yang also felt that it was reasonable for him not to ask. After all, they were married by agreement, so there was no need to pay attention to the etiquette. Ji Yin came out of Pei's and did not leave directly. She just sent a message to Yang Chu. At this moment, she was sitting on the edge of the flower bed not far from the company waiting. Soon, Yang Chu came. He ran out of breath and sat down next to Ji Yin. He handed her a bag of chicken jerky, unscrewed a bottle of iced black tea and took a few sips before asking, "What happened again?" Ji Yin took the chicken jerky and ate it. "I'm getting married." Yang Chu heard the words, and with a puff, all the iced black tea in his mouth sprayed out. Looked at Ji Yin in shock. "What did you say? I didn't hear clearly. Didn't she say that she would marry and have a baby with her later? Now she wants to leave me like a dog." Ji Yin lowered his head. "With President Pei?" "No, what's going on?" Yang Chu was confused by her words. Although Luo Yang said that it was just an agreement to get married and it would not be made public. But Ji Yin didn't want to hide it from Yang Chu. After all, she couldn't hide it. He told Yang Chu everything that had just happened, in detail, and Yang Chu opened her mouth in shock when she heard the end. Although Ji Yin explained clearly enough, she was extremely confused. "Do they know you were the one that night?" After a long time, Yang Chu found a breakthrough and asked. Ji Yin shook his head. "They don't know, but from now on, if anyone asks me, I will say it was me." Yang Chu still didn't understand. What the hell is this? So Pei Xiao still doesn't know that the one that night was Ji Yin? But now he has to get married. And Ji Yin must be the one that night. Why? To dispel the calculations of the people behind the scenes. After a while, Yang Chu sorted out the whole story. He sighed in shock. "What kind of bad fate do you and Mr. Pei have? This fate is really not good. It's so scary. If Pei Xiao knew that the one that night was her, the result would definitely not be like this." "Then you have to agree," Yang Chu said. "If you don't agree, it's estimated that she will be implicated." "Ji Yin, if you don't agree, you have to get out of Gangcheng. It's a small matter for you to get out of Gangcheng, but if you let my entire Yang family get out of Gangcheng. What an injustice. The two have been hiding the matter all their way until now, and they can only continue to hide it. What are you going to do now?" Seeing that Ji Yin didn't speak, Yang Chu asked again. "Ji Yin, go to my sister's place. Get the household registration book." When her mother remarried, she moved her household registration to her stepfather's name. So she and her elder sister were still under grandma's name. After grandma passed away, their household registrations were together. Hearing that she was going to her sister's place, Yang Chu handed her the car keys. "Here." Ji Yin shook her head. "I don't drive. My sister and brother-in-law lived in a village in the suburbs of Gangcheng. It would be too ostentatious for her to drive Yang Chu's Porsche there." Yang Chu thought about it and said, "Then I'll take you to the subway entrance." Ji Yin shook her head again. "No, I still have to go to the mall to buy some things." Although she lived in the same city as her sister, she rarely went there in order not to embarrass her sister. Every time she went there, she would bring a lot of things for her niece so that her sister's in-laws wouldn't have anything to say. Then I'll take you to the mall, right? This is not okay, that is not okay. Yang Chu was going to get angry. But Ji Yuyin smiled and hugged Yang Chu. Chu, how can you be so nice? Since she met Yang Chu has been very good to her. Junior high school students are at the stage of establishing their values. At that time, many classmates despised her for being a poor girl. Only Yang Chu, who was considered a second-generation master by everyone, played with her. Yang Chu was very happy with her words, and the pressure of being discovered was reduced by half. Now you know me well. Are you going to have dinner at your sister's place tonight? I don't know, don't wait for me tonight. I know. Yang Chu pushed her. The two got up and went to the underground garage together. In the car, Ji Yuyin called her sister Ji Yulan and asked how tall and heavy her niece was now. Ji Yulan on the other end of the phone knew that she was going to buy clothes for the child, and said with a distressed tone, "Don't buy them for her. She has a lot of clothes. Eat well when you get your salary, and save the extra money for future use." Listening to her sister's concern, Ji Yuyin felt warm in her heart. Knowing that her sister is thrifty, and that children's clothes are of good quality and will not wear out, she can clearly see that the clothes are too short every time she goes there. So when she said her niece had a lot of clothes, it was actually because she was reluctant to throw away many of them, and she had never bought new ones herself. Chapter 19: The Trifles After Marriage. And there is another reason for buying things, because I know Ji Yulan's mother-in-law too well. If I go empty-handed, I don't know how she will embarrass my elder sister behind her back. Ji Yuyin saw that the mall was almost there, and insisted, "I won't buy a lot, tell me quickly, otherwise it will be a pity if I buy too small." Yin. Hurry up. Ji Yuyin said firmly. Ji Yulan couldn't do anything to her, so she told her the model of the child's clothes. Hang up the phone. Yang Chu glanced at Ji Yuyin. Your sister is in Gangcheng, you only see her once a month. Ji Yuyin, she's married, I don't want to trouble her too much. From Ji Yulan, Ji Yuyin deeply realized that after a woman gets married, it is not just a matter of a woman and a man. There are simply too many people and things involved. This is why, today when Luo Yang said that she wanted to marry President Pei, she subconsciously refused. Because although President Pei is very fierce now, she only has to face President Pei, her immediate boss. But if she enters a completely different circle from her own, she is afraid that she will not be able to cope with it at all. Yang Chu felt distressed when she heard her say this. What trouble is it? That's your sister. This girl, her father died early, and her mother doesn't love her. The only grandmother and elder sister who loved her, one died, and the other lived in a messy family. Ji Yuyin, it is because she is my sister that I don't want to embarrass her. The elder sister loved her since she was a child, and secretly gave her any delicious food, and even let her wear the only new socks every winter. Every time I go to her place now, she either stews chicken or duck. If I go there often, her in-laws will definitely gossip. They arrived at the mall. Yang Chu wanted to accompany her, but was rejected by Ji Yuyin, because as long as Yang Chu was with her, she would definitely pay the bill. She has received too much care from Yang Chu, and sometimes she should avoid him if she can. But Yang Chu threw her a card. You don't have to let me go, use the money on this card. No, I have money myself. You have money? How come I don't know? Yang Chu teased. Ji Yuyin, the relief site you introduced last time was more than 10 square meters, and I made 30,000. Sure, I will introduce you to more large sites like this in the future. Yeah. Ji Yuyin nodded. She also likes this kind of large site. If it is too small, it will only cost 3 or 4,000 yuan. Yang Chu saw that she had money, so he didn't insist. Ji Yuyin bought 3 sets of clothes for her niece in the mall, and also bought some snacks that children like to eat, spending more than 2,000 in total. Carrying the things, she took the subway for an hour and a half, and then took the bus for 5 stops before finally arriving at her sister's house. Ji Yulan knew she was coming, and waited for her at the bus stop early. When Ji Yuyin got off the bus, she saw her, wearing cotton clothes, which were all washed and worn. Seeing her, Ji Yulan called out, Yin Yin. Ji Yuyin hid her sadness and smiled, waving at Ji Yulan. Ji Yulan took the child to Ji Yuyin, and the two sisters hugged each other. The little girl called out crisply, Auntie. Ji Yuyin bent over and pinched Zhao Xinqi's red face. 11, why didn't you go to school today? Ji Yulan took the things in her hand and said, she caught a cold today and asked for leave in the afternoon. Hearing that Zhao Xinxi had a cold, Ji Yuyan held the little thing in his arms, and only then did he realize that her little face was abnormally red. Touched her forehead, it was indeed a little hot. Do you feel uncomfortable? Zhao Xinxi nodded. Uncomfortable? You are uncomfortable, but you still come out with your mother to blow the wind. I miss my aunt. The little thing said softly. Ji Yuyan's eyes were soft. The three walked through a long alley and then entered a yard, where red persimmons were hanging on the trees. The aroma of chicken soup wafted through the room. Ji Yulan dropped her things and started to get busy. Ji Yuyan hurriedly followed. Sister, don't make too much. I can't eat much. She wanted to say she didn't want to eat, but the sisters hadn't seen each other for 3 months. If she left without eating, Ji Yulan would definitely be angry. Especially seeing Ji Yulan's familiarity with housework now, Ji Yuyan felt even more sad. But Ji Yulan said, it's rare for you to come here. I'll give you more nourishment. Ji Yuyan felt warm in her heart and her nose was a little sour. Ji Yulan asked her to play with her little niece Zhao Xinxi. The little thing fell asleep soon because of a fever. Ji Yuyan put her on the bed and came to help Ji Yulan. Ji Yulan quickly stopped her. Don't do it. You'll get your clothes dirty. Ji Yuyan, it's okay. I don't have to go to the company today. Just wash it if it gets dirty. She picked up a bunch of green onions and helped Ji Yulan wash it. Ji Yulan looked at her and smiled. Not long after, Ji Yulan's husband Zhao Yang and mother-in-law Chen Lihua came back. Zhao Yang saw Ji Yuyan and smiled politely. Yin Yin is here. Brother-in-law. Ji Yuyan also called brother-in-law politely. Ji Yulan's mother-in-law Chen Lihua put the things in, looked at the stew in the pot, and smiled. Yin Yin is different. We haven't eaten chicken for almost a month. Ji Yulan's face was not very good. Ji Yuyan also knew what kind of person Chen Lihua was, but still called politely, Auntie. Chen Lihua's eyes were full of disdain. Eat more later, it's not easy for you people from other places to work here. Ji Yuyan maintained a smile on his face. The locals in Gangchang are very xenophobic, just like outsiders are begging for food. Don't look at the Zhao family living in these 4 bungalows, they are usually arrogant. Because of Zhao Yang and Chen Lihua, Ji Yuyan didn't eat a few bites of the dishes made by Ji Yulan. When Chen Lihua sat at the table, she put a chicken leg in her niece Zhao Xinxi's bowl and gave the other to Zhao Yang. Ji Yulan's face froze, but she couldn't say anything. She kept picking up food for Ji Yuyan. Sister, you eat. Ji Yuyan felt sorry for Ji Yulan. Ji Yulan shook her head. I usually cook for you, but the food outside is unhealthy. It's rare to eat it, so eat more. Although it was a bit frustrating to eat, Ji Yuyan still tried to eat some for Ji Yulan's sake. At this moment, Pei Xiao had returned to the apartment in Shanghaiuan. When he was about to change his clothes and go out, he opened the door of the closet and heard something fall out with a clang. Pei Xiao bent down to pick up the thing, took it in his hand and looked at it. When he saw the name on the box, his face froze instantly. Condoms. Usually he is the only one who comes back often, and Ji Yuyan often comes to get things. In an instant, Pei Xiao showed a meaningful smile. He took out his cell phone and called Ji Yuyan. This is the Zhao family. After dinner, Chen Lihua went out for some unknown reason, and Zhao Yang also went out. Ji Yulan said they went to play cards. This is the typical life of local people in Hong Kong, petty bourgeoisie and idle. Seeing Pei Xiao calling, Ji Yuyan hurried to the yard and answered, Mr. Pei. Where? A man's low voice came from the other end of the phone. Ji Yuyan's little heart instinctively lifted up, and she quickly said, At my sister. For some reason, every time she received a call from Pei Xiao, she would instinctively get nervous. Maybe he was too fierce and too serious. Send me the location. Why send the location? The next moment, the other end of the phone hung up directly. Ji Yuyan listened to the beep sound, and her little face was tense because of it. She didn't understand what Pei Xiao meant at all. Should this location be sent or not? After thinking about it, she still sent it. Chapter 20. Pei Xiao picked her up in person. It was already late when she saw the time on her phone. Ji Yuyan went to Ji Yulan to get her household registration booklet and said goodbye. Ji Yulan was making her bed. Hearing that she was leaving, she looked disappointed. Why are you leaving again? Stay here for one night. Ji Yuyan shook her head. No, I have to go to work tomorrow. Then why do you want the household registration booklet? Ji Yulan didn't know that she was here to get the household registration booklet before. After all, the household registration booklet is rarely used. Ji Yuyan, the company has a team building at the end of the year and there is an overseas trip. I want to take it to apply for a passport. Not wanting to make her sister worry, she lied directly. After all, this is an agreed marriage, there is no future, and they will divorce in the future. Ji Yulan nodded and went to take out the household registration booklet for her. Ji Yuyan took it and said, I will bring it next time I come. Ji Yulan, don't worry. Ji Yuyan flipped it open and saw that there were only her and her sister on it. The page of her grandmother was already stamped with the seal of passed away. After looking at Ji Yulan, who had gained some weight, he asked, will your household registration not be transferred? Ji Yulan's expression froze after he finished speaking. Ji Yuyan instantly understood what he meant. At that time, it was her mother Zhao Baoyun who facilitated Ji Yulan's marriage to Zhao Yang. This marriage was introduced by a distant relative, and Zhao Baoyun wanted Ji Yulan to have a Hong Kong household registration. However, the child is now 5 years old and has not been transferred. Seeing the dark pain in Ji Yulan's eyes, Ji Yuyan looked at her niece Zhao Xinxi, who was sleeping in the inner room again. 1111 is also in school now, so you should find a job too. Ji Yulan was sponsored by kind people and graduated from a prestigious school. She really shouldn't have lived such a mess. To put it bluntly, Ji Yuyan felt that she shouldn't have listened to her mother's arrangements too much. In fact, Ji Yulan also regretted it. In many cases, what the elders of the older generation say is not necessarily correct. At this moment, what Ji Yuyan said was what she had thought about for a long time. I want to, but no one is willing to pick up the child. Although the child is in school now, she and her mother-in-law Chen Li will have discussed the 3 times a day pick-up and drop-off, and she is unwilling. And they are still urging the birth of a second child. Ji Yuyan heard it at the dinner table just now. At this moment, Ji Yuyan's tone is heavy. Let 1111 eat at school at noon. There are still many suitable jobs in the morning and evening. Ji Yulan looked at Ji Yuyan and wanted to say something. Ji Yuyan, you are not in the right time to have a second child now. Ji Yulan's face turned pale when she heard it. I didn't expect that her sister could hear that she had always been unwilling to have a second child. Not to mention that no one helped after the birth, they were not happy if there was a slight problem with the child. And she was really tired of the days when her palms were facing up. Not long after, Pei Xiao called and said that he would wait for her in the alley outside. Ji Yuyan didn't expect him to come to pick her up. After hanging up the phone, she looked at Ji Yulan reluctantly. He left her 5,000 yuan, but Ji Yulan refused. Xu Jinyu always asks for money now, you keep it. Xu Jinyu, their half-brother. Mother Zhao Baoyun always thought that Ji Yulan married a man from Gangcheng and had a good living condition. Therefore, she often asked Ji Yulan to support her son born by that man. However, where could Ji Yulan get the money, so she could only ask Ji Yuyan with a frown. After a long time, Xu Jinyu shamelessly asked Ji Yuyan for it directly. Speaking of this useless brother, Ji Yuyan lost her temper. He is already doing internship, why do you care so much about him? Speaking of it, Xu Jinyu called her yesterday, but she was angry and hung up at that time. Then there was another call from Pei Xiao. It has been almost 3 months since she gave Xu Jinyu money. Ji Yulan was embarrassed. You know what kind of person my mother is. If I don't give it to her, she will come to Hongcheng to make trouble. This kind of thing has happened before. Ji Yulan was afraid when she thought of her mother's hysterical face. Ji Yuyan's face became even darker. The more it is like this, the more we can't indulge her. Ji Yulan, if you don't want to care about this matter, don't bother. Okay, I'll go first. Pei Xiao was already waiting at the alley entrance. She didn't have time to talk anymore. Every time she talked about Xu Jinyu, it was a bad topic. Ji Yulan nodded and took the packed food to Ji Yuyan. Ji Yuyan didn't want it, but Ji Yulan knew that she had just eaten a lot, so she packed some good food for her and asked her to go back and heat it up. Ji Yulan wanted to send her off, but Ji Yuyan was worried that she would see Pei Xiao, so she refused on the grounds that her niece was sick. It was completely dark. Ji Yuyan walked under the dim streetlights with a lunchbox in her hand. As soon as she got out of the alley, she saw a black Maybach waiting not far away. Pei Xiao leaned against the car door and smoked. Ji Yin was a little scared by the look in his eyes and stepped forward respectfully. Mr. Pei. Have you got the household registration book? Yes. Ji Yin nodded. Pei Xiao turned around and opened the car door. Get in the car. Ji Yin's heart was lifted again when she saw Pei Xiao's gentlemanly behavior. She didn't even dare to think about asking Mr. Pei to open the car door for her, and she didn't dare to get in now. Pei Xiao saw her standing there and didn't dare to move. The arc of his mouth seemed to be a bit teasing. What's the matter? Well, Mr. Pei, you must be very busy. I can go back by myself. Ji Yin felt that Pei Xiao must be here to do something. Pei Xiao's face darkened because of her words, and he said in a deep voice, I'm here to pick you up. Ji Yin. My heart, which was not relaxed to begin with, thumped. Pick her up? Looking up, she saw the tenderness in Pei Xiao's eyes, and Ji Yin's mind couldn't help but waver. Pei Xiao raised his eyebrows and signaled her to get in the car. At this moment, Ji Yin didn't know whether to get in or not. It seemed that she didn't want to get in either, and she felt a sense of urgency. Finally, under Pei Xiao's sharp eyes, she got in the car. The car door closed, and Pei Xiao walked around the front of the car to the driver's seat. Although she was Pei Xiao's assistant, this was the first time Ji Yin sat in his private car. The air in the car was clean and clear, unlike other cars, which always had an inexplicable strange smell. Pei Xiao glanced at the food box in her arms. Did your sister make it? Ji Yin nodded, yes. Every time she came, she would pack a lot of delicious food for her, mostly some roasted meat. Until they arrived at Shanghaiwan, neither of them spoke again. Ji Yin didn't understand why Pei Xiao brought her to Shanghaiwan, and asked nervously, Boss Pei, is there something wrong? She thought she had to work overtime again. After all, taking care of the boss's life is also her responsibility as an assistant. Her sudden question made Pei Xiao dazed. He didn't expect him to bring her back. Nothing, you have to live here from today. Ji Yin's heart was lifted instantly. Living here from today? No, she was not mentally prepared at all. Ji Yin stuttered nervously, no, isn't it an agreement marriage? Pei Xiao had already opened the car door, and before getting out of the car, he said, it's an agreement, but you have to live here too. He didn't have any explanation, and the words between the sentences seemed like a strong order, so Ji Yin couldn't resist. Ji Yin tightly grasped the bag of the lunchbox, and her heart was in a panic. Usually, facing Boss Pei in the company was enough to scare her. Now they have to be together at night, Thinking of this, Ji Yin was worried that she would be frightened to death in the middle of the night. She really didn't want to do that. Pei Xiao's cold voice came from outside the car, get out. Chapter 21, The Little White Rabbit Has Fallen into the Fox's Trap. Ji Yin reluctantly followed Pei Xiao out of the car. I sent a message to Yang Chu for help. When Yang Chu received the message, he was also shocked. Who would have thought that the terrifying living devil would actually bring a woman home one day, and the place he went to was Shanghaiwan, where he often went. What is even more shocking is that the person brought along is Ji Yin. If those women in Gangcheng who are attracted to Pei Xiao knew about this, they would skin Ji Yin alive, right? Yang Chu gave Ji Yin a hopefully good luck expression. After all, Pei Xiao has proposed marriage to her today, so it seems reasonable for them to live together now. But what is unreasonable is that it was Pei Xiao who made this request. It was always women who threw themselves at him, but this time he was the one who caught Ji Yin and brought her home. When Ji Yin saw Yang Chu's reply, he cursed her in his heart. You watched someone die without helping. In fact, she also knew that Yang Chu didn't dare. Following Pei Xiao upstairs nervously, Ji Yin was still struggling before entering the door. How about I stay in the dormitory? She really wants to live in the dormitory smells so good tilde. Pei Xiao glanced at her coldly. We are going to the Civil Affairs Bureau together tomorrow, so there is no need to pick you up. I can go by myself. Ji Yin's voice became lower and lower. The aura emanating from Pei Xiao became more and more oppressive. Ji Yin didn't dare to continue talking. It was different from her usual time here. At this moment, she was standing at the door, not knowing what to do. Pei Xiao, there are new slippers in the shoe cabinet. After saying that, he turned and went in. Ji Yin looked at his back and couldn't relax at all. In the past, she always brought her own shoe covers when she came here, and she never opened any cabinet that shouldn't be opened. When I opened the shoe cabinet at this moment, I saw new slippers inside, but they were all men's, which showed that no women came here. She took out a pair of shoes and put them on. They were as big as the boat, so she had to make do with them. Pei Xiao probably wanted to shut those people up completely, so he made the show more realistic. Asking her to live here? This seems to be the case, but Ji Yuyin really doesn't want to. Go inside. Pei Xiao had already changed into his home clothes and was sitting on the sofa. Under the orange light, the man's features looked softer, less cold and hard than usual in the company. The red wine in his hand was swaying, and the wine-red box on the coffee table looked familiar. Ji Yuyin took a closer look, and his eyebrows suddenly jumped. Wasn't that the condom she saw in the closet? What does Mr. Pei mean? Did their marriage agreement also include helping him with that need? As this thought flashed through his mind, Ji Yuyin's hands reacted faster than his brain. He grabbed his collar tightly and quickly took 3 steps back. She stepped back too quickly, and because her shoes were too big, she tripped over the edge of the carpet and fell to the ground. Pei Xiao saw her in such a sorry state, and the corners of his mouth curved up meaningfully. Are you afraid that I will eat you? President Pei, I'm not that kind of woman. Ji Yuyin became more anxious and stuttered even more. But then the image of his uncontrolled passion that night flashed through his mind. She swore that it was really an accident that night. Pei Xiao's eyes were deep. Meeting the fear in Ji Yuyin's eyes, he sneered, what kind of woman? She was the one who put the condom in, and now she is pretending to be innocent with him. Ji Yuyin didn't know the origin of their condom that Pei Xiao thought of. Facing the depth in Pei Xiao's eyes at this moment, she completely lost her reaction and forgot to get up from the ground, her heart pounding non-stop. When Pei Xiao's eyes became more sharp, she blurted out anxiously, I don't accept unspoken rules. Pei Xiao. Getting married now would be considered as helping him, right? When thinking about this, Ji Yuyin mustered up all his courage. The agreement must include that I will not help you with your physiological needs. The air at this moment was like an ice cellar. Pei Xiao crossed his legs, closed the book in his hand, looked at her meaningfully, and the light in his eyes became deeper. Ji Yuyin lowered his head, not daring to breathe. It's over. Has she completely pissed him off this time? When Pei Xiao gets angry, their whole high chain will tremble. After a long while, just when Ji Yuyin felt that she was about to collapse, Pei Xiao finally spoke coldly, are you threatening me? I don't dare. Ji Yuyin said anxiously. How could she dare to threaten Boss Pei? She just didn't want to lose her virginity again. Pei Xiao looked at her timid appearance, and a meaningful arc appeared at the corner of his mouth. Oh, I dare not. This is interesting. Playing hard to get. Not likely. With her courage, she really wouldn't play that game. As for the condom, seeing how scared she looked, you knew it wasn't her who put it there. It seems that the people around him need to be cleaned up. However, he also underestimated his young assistant, who actually dared to negotiate with him. Ji Yuyin's palms were sweating from nervousness, and he didn't dare to speak any more nonsense. Fortunately, Pei Xiao did not continue to tease her. He glanced at the time on his watch and said, go to bed. Ji Yuyin's breath was choked, then the physiological needs. Pei Xiao's eyes flashed, and Ji Yuyin was so scared that he swallowed back all the words that were about to come out. Pei Xiao, the second room on the left. Ji Yuyin knew that room was the guest room. But Ji Yuyin did not feel relieved. Looking at the box of condoms on the coffee table, her heart was trembling. Not knowing what Pei Xiao meant, she didn't dare to ask any more. She quickly entered the room and slammed the door shut. Then there was the sound of a lock turning from inside. Obviously she had locked the door. Pei Xiao looked at the closed door and was stunned. What was she doing? To protect herself from wolves. Thinking of Ji Yuyin's nervous and frightened look, Pei Xiao's eyes showed a gentle smile that he had never seen before. As soon as Ji Yuyin returned to the room, Yang Chu's message came, and he learned the lesson from last time. Yang Chu was now much more careful with his words, Yin Yin. It's me. Is it convenient? Yang Chu asked first. Thinking of how Ji Yuyin was tortured by Pei Xiao before, she felt horrified. After being with Ji Yuyin for so many years, she knew Ji Yuyin too well, and she simply couldn't resist if he came a few more times. Ji Yuyin replied, I'm dying. Now Yang Chu was completely sure that the phone was in Ji Yuyin's hands. Even through the screen, one could sense Yang Chu's tense tone, you must hold on. Since Yang Chu learned that Ji Yuyin was taken back to Shanghaiwan by Pei Xiao, he was also frightened. In her heart, Ji Yuyan's mind was very simple. If Pei Xiao said something, she probably wouldn't be able to react and would tell him everything. Thinking that all his family's businesses are now in Hong Kong City, Yang Chu is very afraid of being implicated by Ji Yuyan. Ji Yuyan, I know. Yang Chu, no, you don't know. You don't know the seriousness of the matter at all. Ji Yuyan, I really know. How could she not know what the consequences would be if she angered the king of hell? Now, not only do we have to keep secret what happened that night, but we also have to be extremely cautious since we live under the same roof. Ji Yuyan felt that if this continued, he would be so nervous that he would die suddenly. Even though Ji Yuyan's tone was so firm, Yang Chu still warned, just remember, don't mention that night if you can. Even if you mention it accidentally, get around it as soon as possible. In short, what happened that night cannot stay in front of Pei Xiao for too long. The little white rabbit may be trapped by the old fox at any time. The only way is to avoid the trap. Chapter 22. Ji Yuyan can't even make breakfast. That night, Yang Chu pulled Ji Yuyan aside and talked a lot. She and Pei Xiao lived under the same roof, and the person she was most worried about was Yang Chu. It was not until Ji Yuyan could no longer hold on that Yang Chu stopped lecturing her. Ji Yuyan slept uneasily the whole night. In an unfamiliar environment and with her nerves too tense, she woke up several times. I couldn't fall asleep at 6 in the morning, and I was very hungry, so I had to get up. She tiptoed to the kitchen and heated up the food her sister had packed for her. She also wanted to cook some plain noodles, but Shang Haiyuan had nothing except bread, eggs and milk. When Pei Xiao got up, he saw Ji Yuyan eating in the restaurant, and his brows subconsciously frowned. When Ji Yuyan saw Pei Xiao, she was so nervous that the spoon fell into the bowl and she stood up nervously. Morning, Mr. Pei. Pei Xiao walked over and took a look at the food in her bowl. It was all meat. Frowning, eating something so greasy in the morning. My sister packed it for me. It would be a shame not to eat it. Ji Yuyan said respectfully. It must be because she grew up in such an environment, so she never wastes food. Every time Ji Yulan packed food for her, she was worried that it would go bad, so she would eat it as quickly as possible. This time, Ji Yulan packed a lot, enough for her to eat for a day. Seeing Pei Xiao staring at his bowl, Ji Yuyan asked anxiously, do you want to eat? Pei Xiao shook his head. Fry me a sunny-side-up egg, toast a piece of bread, and heat a cup of milk. When Ji Yuyan heard this, the corners of her mouth twitched. These were all things she didn't know. But seeing that Pei Xiao seemed a little grumpy after waking up, she didn't dare to say that she didn't know how to do it, so she could only nod. Pei Xiao went to wash up. Ji Yuyan came to the kitchen and looked at the new functional kitchenware. She didn't know where to start, but she didn't dare to ask Pei Xiao. I could only take out my phone to check how to use these kitchen utensils. Although she learned how to use the kitchen utensils, she was not very good at making this new type of breakfast. Therefore, when Pei Xiao came out of the master bedroom, he smelled a strong smell of burnt food. When I arrived at the kitchen, I saw Ji Yuyan busying around, scooping a black fried egg out of the pan. The bread in the bread machine was obviously mushy too. Pei Xiao. Seeing Pei Xiao, Ji Yuyan's heart skipped a beat. Mr. Pei, I can't cook. No, I just don't know how to do these things. Ji Yuyan said with a bitter face. She can cook, but she really can't make sunny-side-up eggs or toast. While the two were talking, the milk in the small pot had already boiled, and a thick layer of milk skin floated on the surface. Needless to say, Pei Xiao made breakfast himself in the end. Ji Yuyan felt a little embarrassed. Fortunately, they were only in a contractual marriage, otherwise she would not be a qualified wife. Pei Xiao's fried sunny-side-up egg was round and white, and the bread was baked to golden brown. Ji Yuyan doesn't usually eat these, but when he smelled this, he felt very hungry. Want to eat? Seeing Ji Yuyan staring at his bread, Pei Xiao raised his eyebrows. Ji Yuyan immediately retracted his gaze and shook his head. I don't want to eat. However, eating so much meat in the morning was really greasy. She could hardly eat any more, but she felt it was a pity to throw it away. Pei Xiao put half a piece of bread on her small plate and picked up a piece of chicken from her bowl. This natural movement also made Ji Yuyan tense enough. Pei Xiao took a bite and said, your sister's cooking skills are pretty good. As he said that, he exchanged his unfinished sunny-side-up egg and bread with Ji Yuyan. Ji Yuyin looked at the sunny side up egg with 2 bites taken from it on the plate in front of her, and her face instantly turned red. She held her breath and looked at Pei Xiao. Pei Xiao was already eating the chicken she had eaten. The corner of Ji Yuyin's mouth twitched. Pei Xiao, you're not eating yet. I dislike. No, it's not. Ji Yuyin shook his head hurriedly. How could she dare to dislike Boss Pei, but their current contact with food, was it considered indirect? Pei Xiao, from now on you have to get used to this kind of contact. You have to go back to the old house for dinner in the evening. Are you going to show your affection in front of the elders? Ji Yuyin asked in shock. She didn't really want to face her elders. When she thought of Chen Lihua's face, she felt that the boy's parents were generally difficult to get along with. But she also knew that Pei Xiao's agreement to marry her was definitely for the sake of showing off to their elders. Generally, heirs of large families do not take marriage seriously, but the urging of their elders makes them doubt their lives. I didn't expect that Pei Xiao, who is usually so stern and imposing in the company, would have such an elder. Pei Xiao, you can understand it this way. What do you mean by understanding it this way? It's absolutely true, right? Ji Yuyin stopped talking and ate her breakfast obediently. It was strange because she had a slight obsession with misophobia. When she was young, her mother would sometimes give her the food that her younger brother Xu Jingyu Hanti finished eating, and she felt disgusted because it was stained with saliva. But she didn't dislike what Pei Xiao had eaten. Maybe it's because the sunny side up eggs and baked bread made by Pei Xiao are so fragrant. What will you do? Pei Xiao asked Ji Yuyin when it was almost over. Ji Yuyin just said that she can cook, but she can't make a modern breakfast. Ji Yuyin, noodles. What else? Hand-rolled noodles, knife-cut noodles, noodles covered with rice, baked potatoes, fried potatoes, stir-fried potatoes. Pei Xiao. How much does this girl like noodles and potatoes? In fact, it's not that Ji Yuyin likes to eat noodles and potatoes, but because the place where she lives is mainly dominated by wheat and potatoes. These are what she has done most since she was a child, so she only knows how to do these. Then let's make noodles for breakfast from now on. Pei Xiao thought for a while and said. Ji Yuyin's hand holding the half cup of milk froze, but he still nodded, okay. Even after living under the same roof for a whole night, Ji Yuyin still couldn't get rid of his instinctive fear of Pei Xiao. After breakfast, the two went to the Civil Affairs Bureau together. Before registering, Ji Yuyin did not wait for the agreement to be signed and looked at Pei Xiao eagerly. Pei Xiao frowned. What? Ji Yuyin, shouldn't we sign the agreement first? Pei Xiao, are you really afraid that I will eat you? There was a bit of a playing hard to get attitude last night. Now seeing the nervousness in her eyes, as if she was afraid that he would deny it, Pei Xiao couldn't help laughing. Ji Yuyin rubbed her hands and didn't dare to speak. Pei Xiao said nothing and directly dragged her to get the certificate, without mentioning the signing of the agreement during the whole process. Maybe it was Ji Yuyin who brought it up first, and Pei Xiao felt disrespected. Ji Yuyin was staggering all the way out of the Civil Affairs Bureau and looked at the marriage certificate in his hand. I couldn't believe that I was really married, and to a man that all the women in Haicheng desired. The next moment the marriage certificate was taken away. Pei Xiao put it directly into the pocket of his suit lining. I'll keep this. His assistant is in a daze, so she shouldn't lose such an important thing. Ji Yuyin didn't dare to refute this. The two got in the car and went straight to the company. When they were almost at the company, Ji Yuyin asked, when will the agreement be signed? Luo Yang will tell you. Pei Xiao's tone became serious. Did he look that hungry, or did she think a piece of paper would stop his bestiality? Hearing the coldness in Pei Xiao's tone, Ji Yuyin knew that he was angry again. I just don't know what he is angry about. When they arrived at the intersection of the company, Ji Yuyin quickly said, I'll get off here. Pei Xiao glanced at her coldly. What? It would be bad if people in the company saw it. Ji Yuyin said nervously. They had originally arranged a marriage, and if anyone in the company saw her getting out of Pei Xiao's car, they would definitely be furious. She didn't want to cause unnecessary trouble. Pei Xiao sneered, you have considered everything. Chapter 23 A Sky-High Verbal Breakup Fee. Ji Yuyin's breathing tightened because of the sarcastic tone. He had no idea how he had offended him. Pei Xiao didn't say anything else. After passing the traffic light, he parked the car on the side of the road. Ji Yuyin got out of the car as if he was escaping, not bothering to say anything. Pei Xiao looked at her back, which was as nimble as a rabbit, and his face darkened uncontrollably again. Is he a wolf? Why is she so afraid of him? When Ji Yuyin returned to the company, she rushed to Luo Yang's office and said that Pei Xiao asked her to come to him to sign the agreement. Luo Yang looked at her seriously and said, I'm afraid this agreement cannot be put in writing. What do you mean? Ji Yuyin didn't understand what it meant that it couldn't be in writing. Isn't an agreement only valid if it's in writing? Without a written signature, if a dispute arises, no one will be able to explain it clearly. Luo Yang pushed the black glasses on his nose and said in a deep voice, the agreement between you and Mr. Pei is of great importance. If this agreement is leaked, you don't understand the consequences. Ji Yuyin's heart skipped a beat. What did this mean? Before she could figure it out, she heard Luo Yang say, to be on the safe side, the written document should not exist. When your marriage ends, President Pei will give you 100 million yuan in compensation. 100 million. Ji Yuyin's breath was choked. She had never seen so much money in her life. Her current monthly salary is just over 20,000 yuan, and the relief sculptures are worth 2,000 yuan per square meter. How many shifts and construction sites does she have to work to earn this much? Hearing about so much money, Ji Yuyin looked at Luo Yang and smiled tightly, then let's sign a contract. I promise not to leak it out. 100 million. If President Pei goes back on his word, wouldn't all her efforts be in vain? And this agreement should have a time limit, right? By the time it's over, she'll be rich. At this moment, Ji Yuyin's nervous eyes were filled with a hint of greed. Luo Yang remained serious. Many times, promises are not as good as their word, just in case. Ji Yuyin really can't sign a written agreement. Cannot. Ji Yuyin wanted to cry. How can there be no written record? That's 100 million. If Pei Xiao really went back on his word, she would have no place to appeal. Luo Yang's eyes became sharper. Or do you think that Mr. Pei can't let you trust him? Of course she trusts. During the time he worked with him, Ji Yuyin also knew that he was a very trustworthy boss. There has never been any mistake in external payments, and there has never been any delay in paying wages internally. And he didn't go into his room last night, so maybe she was overthinking it before. When thinking about this, Ji Yuyin felt that he didn't seem to have anything to worry about. Then he nodded, okay, then if we don't sign, there will be a breakup fee of 100 million, right? Does Mr. Pei have any other requests? The request is temporary, you just have to obey. So Mr. Pei only has one request, be obedient. This is very simple. She has always been very obedient at work, and she will be even more obedient for the sake of the 100 million. Luo Yang couldn't help laughing when he saw how she was fooled. I don't understand why Pei Xiao didn't allow her to sign an agreement. Right now, it seems like the little white rabbit has met a wolf. However, ever since Ji Yuyin came to Pei Xiao's side, the two of them seem to have always been in these roles. As soon as Ji Yuyin came out of Luo Yang's office, he was called in by an insider. Ji Yuyin also entered the working state as quickly as possible. Pei Xiao looked at Ji Yuyin with a serious face and raised a smile. Don't order food for lunch, I want to eat noodles. The corner of Ji Yuyin's mouth twitched. So now at work, does she still have to play the role of a wife? Pei Xiao saw that she didn't speak, and raised his eyebrows. What, is there a problem? Ji Yuyin, it's not easy to cook in the company, right? There's a small kitchen in the inner room of the lounge. The corner of Ji Yuyin's mouth twitched again. She had been working here for such a long time and she didn't even know this. But for the 100 million yuan breakup fee, she tried her best to serve him well. Ji Yuyin sniffed and looked at Pei Xiao nervously. Pei Xiao saw that she was hesitant to speak, and asked in a deep voice, what's the matter? Yes, that's right. Director Luo didn't sign a written agreement with me just now. Have you made your reasons clear? Well, I just want to ask if the 100 million yuan breakup fee he mentioned is true. The further he talked, the quieter Ji Yuyin's voice became. She knew that it was vulgar to talk about money in front of someone like Pei Xiao who had no shortage of money, but she was just a vulgar person. Although Luo Yang explained it very clearly, he was just an assistant director in Pei's company. The person whose words really count is Pei Xiao. After all, it was such a huge amount, Ji Yuyin felt that he still had to ask clearly. Pei Xiao raised his eyebrows, too little. No, it's not, I just want to make sure it's true. How can it be too little? It is simply a lot. Because there are so many, we need to confirm it. Ji Yuyin felt more and more embarrassed. Pei Xiao obviously did not expect that Ji Yuyin, who was always considered timid, would dare to ask him. The meaning flashed in his eyes became deeper, and he looked at her with a smile. It's true, and I will give you an advance of 50,000 every month. Ji Yuyin's breathing suddenly took a hit. 50,000. Really? Do you doubt what I said? I dare not. Will the salary be paid? Ji Yuyin's eyes were filled with uncontrollable excitement. Pei Xiao looked at her money-obsessed appearance, and the smile on his face softened a little. Send as usual. With an advance of 50,000 and the usual salary, the total amount she can get from the company every month is 70,000. She no longer has to be reluctant to eat the meals she saved to pay for her mortgage. When he thought of this, Ji Yuyin was so excited that he forgot his fear of Pei Xiao. Pei Xiao thought he paid her a lot of money, but he didn't expect that this girl was so obsessed with money. However, if he knew the environment in which Ji Yuyin grew up, he would probably understand why she attached so much importance to money. He was timid at other times, but when it came to money, he mustered all his courage. And he probably still doesn't know that the reason Ji Yuyin was able to work beside him for so long despite pressure that ordinary people couldn't bear was actually because of the money. We're having noodles for lunch, right? Then I'll go buy some vegetables after I get off work. Ji Yuyin suppressed the joy in his heart. Pei Xiao, I still need to buy noodles. Although there is a kitchen, there is nothing in it. Ji Yuyin nodded. Okay. Whatever Pei Xiao says is what she will do now. Even if she risks dying of fright, she will hold on. $70,000 a month in real money is much better than the 100 million that you don't know when you got. After coming out of Pei Xiao's office, Yang Chu grabbed her and pulled her to the emergency passage. After entering, he closed the door tightly. Tell me quickly, are you and Mr. Pei? Sure. Before Yang Chu finished his words, Ji Yuyin made a gesture to silence him. Luo Yang said that we should be prepared for any eventuality. Ji Yuyin was afraid that Yang Chu would ask about the word agreement. Yang Chu opened the door and looked outside. Seeing no one, he closed the door again and lowered his voice. Tell me quickly, have you got the marriage certificate? Yes, I received it. Ji Yuyin nodded. Yang Chu instantly looked hopeless. You really got it. They were on a mission to keep what happened that night a secret, but who would have thought that things would not go as they wished? It seemed as if God was deliberately against them. Yang Chu looked at Ji Yuyin, who had an innocent face. Then, can you really handle it? Chapter 24. Ji Yuyin is the most difficult subordinate to lead. Although I told Ji Yuyin to hold on last night. But in fact, Yang Chu did not sleep the whole night. Judging from Pei Xiao's attitude last night, they were going to live together in this fake marriage. Ji Yuyin is such an honest kid, you never know when he will reveal all the secrets. I don't know. But he doesn't ask about what happened that night, so it should be okay. What about asking? Yang Chu breathed rapidly. If you ask. Ji Yuyin looked at Yang Chu, and Yang Chu looked at her and said, have you forgotten what I told you? What? If he asks, you must get around this topic as quickly as possible and never stay on it for more than a second. Every second that passes increases the danger. Ji Yuyin nodded. Yes, I remember it. Then can you get around it in 1 second? No. Ji Yuyin continued to nod. They all knew what a shrewd person Pei Xiao was. If I try to avoid the topic deliberately, he will definitely notice it. Yang Chu. Now, it was her turn to be scared to death. Before, Ji Yuyin had only been dealing with Pei Xiao at work, but now? It had escalated to the evening. Nighttime is the time when people are most likely to become confused. Yang Chu took a deep breath and admitted his defeat. The prosperity and wealth of my Yang family will now be handed over to you. The two are now married, and no contact can change that, so they can only accept their fate. Ji Yuyin nodded again. Don't worry, if anything goes wrong, I will definitely not give you away. Is that a question of giving it away? Pei Xiao always gets to the bottom of things when doing things. She has been his assistant for a year, so he probably knows what she is capable of. Especially the destruction of the video. If it is found to be related to Ji Yuyin, he will definitely investigate it thoroughly. Because I know Ji Yuyin doesn't have the brains. Oh. Yang Chu sighed, feeling very worried. In the end, he couldn't help but give Ji Yuyin some advice. Ji Yuyin was in a good mood now. She agreed to everything he said and stopped crying. This good mood made Yang Chu speechless. Why are you so happy today? When I encountered this kind of thing before, I would be scared and cry, but I didn't cry today. Ji Yuyin, because I have money. Rich. Who doesn't know that Ji Yuyin is the poorest person in the company because of her mortgage? How could she be rich? Ji Yuyin told Yang Chu that Pei Xiao said he would give her 100 million yuan and that she would receive 70,000 yuan a month. Yang Chu also realized, what is fear? Money can heal everything. Finally, he said, for the sake of money, you must hold on. Yeah, I will. For the money's sake. No matter what, I must successfully get the 100 million yuan breakup fee. Because they were busy with work, the two of them exchanged a few brief words and then hurried back to their posts. Ji Yuyin looked at the time and saw that he still had a meeting before getting off work, so he got straight to work. No one knew how the news that Luo Yang would resign at the end of the year spread. The news that the first assistant would be promoted within the company also spread within the department, and in a short time the entire department was caught up in the competition. The most promising ones are Jin Yang, whose work ability has always been appreciated by Luo Yang, and Jing Fei, who is very good at maintaining customer relationships. Snap! A thick stack of documents fell directly on Ji Yuyin's desk. Ji Yuyin raised his eyes and met Jin Yang's usual disdainful look. He frowned and asked, "What is this?" Jin Yang stroked her beautiful nails. She had short hair and fiery red lips, looking capable and fashionable. She chuckled and said, "Assistant Ji Yu, please send this document to Mingcheng Company." Although it was said to be troublesome, the tone between the lines was full of command. Ji Yuyin looked at the time on the computer screen and said calmly, "I'm afraid you'll have to go by yourself." They usually have their own job responsibilities, which are usually their own things that they complete on their own. However, her work and Jin Yang's work are in completely different fields. Jin Yang, Boss Pei asked me to attend a meeting later. The information about Mingcheng cannot be delayed. Chu Ran, who was unwilling to work with Ji Yuyin, frowned and stood up. "Assistant Jin, I'll help you deliver it." Besides, it has always been Ji Yuyin who attends President Pei's meetings. When did Jin Yang ever get a chance? Ji Yuyin also subconsciously glanced at Pei Xiao's office. The blinds were drawn tightly and she could not see anything. Jin Yang raised her eyebrows. "What? You don't believe it? Why don't you go ask Mr. Pei in person?" Ji Yuyin retracted his gaze, picked up the documents and stood up. "Okay, I'll go." Normally everyone gets along peacefully, but perhaps because of the competition for the first assistant, there has been a subtle change. Jin Yang showed no sign of gratitude, sneered and turned away. Chu Ran came to Ji Yuyin and said, "You are Mr. Pei's special assistant. What right does she have to order you around? Give it to me. Let me go." Ji Yuyin said with a smile. Since Pei Xiao said that Jin Yang would follow in half an hour, it seems that the first assistant is beginning to observe Jin Yang. Thinking of what Pei Xiao had said to him before, there is room for improvement. Ji Yuyin also felt that he was not qualified. The person who will take over Luo Yang's job will most likely be Jin Yang. Chu Ran nodded, "Then go quickly and come back soon. After all, she is President Pei's dedicated assistant. If she is not around, they may not be able to handle many of President Pei's matters." Ji Yuyin left with the documents. She is now sending the information to Mingcheng, and then she will come back to buy some vegetables at the supermarket opposite the building and cook. The timing should be just right. However, just as she left, Pei Xiao's inside player called from behind, and it was Chu Ran who received the call. Hearing that it was not Ji Yuyin's voice, Pei Xiao's tone became serious. "Where is Ji Yuyin?" Assistant Jin asked Assistant Ji Yu to go to Mingcheng to deliver the information. Chu Ran told the truth. After he finished speaking, the breathing on the other end of the phone became heavier, and the moment he spoke, his tone became even colder. "When did you go?" Chu Ran's heart sank when he heard the coldness in the phone call. They said that Ji Yuyin was Mr. Pei's personal assistant, and if she was not around, who could handle it? He quickly said, "I just went out. Let Luo Yang come in." "Okay, Mr. Pei." After hanging up the phone, Chu Ran's heart was still beating fast. I don't know how Assistant Ji Yu usually withstands the pressure from President Pei. At this moment, Jin Yang is in Luo Yang's office. Her work ability has always been good. Whenever there was any important matter, Luo Yang would let her handle it. At this moment, Luo Yang was assigning her some work, and Jin Yang, who had been working in the workplace for 5 years. Listening to these work arrangements at this moment, knowing that they were all tests from the company, she felt more and more that she was determined to succeed. Chu Ran knocked on the door and came in. "Director Luo, President Pei wants to see you." Luo Yang nodded and said to Jin Yang, "You go first." "Okay, Director Luo," Jin Yang said with a clear light tone. Luo Yang went to Pei Xiao's office first. When Jin Yang turned around and looked at Chu Ran, disdain flashed in her eyes. Chu Ran remained neither humble nor arrogant. He nodded politely and turned to leave. President's office. When Luo Yang came in, he saw Pei Xiao with a gloomy look on his face. Although the two were superiors and subordinates in the company, they were friends in private and even went abroad to study together. Luo Yang closed the door and turned around. "Who provokes you again? I thought that under your management, the division of labor within the department would be very clear. Is something unclear?" Luo Yang was confused. Pei Xiao's eyes became more gloomy. "Where is Ji Yu Yin Ren?" Hearing Ji Yu Yin, Luo Yang subconsciously looked outside, and saw that she was not at her post again. His face suddenly darkened. Where did this damn girl go again? In Luo Yang's opinion, Ji Yu Yin is the most difficult subordinate to lead. He has poor working ability, poor reaction ability, in short, he is not good at anything. Chapter 25 Meeting time, she asked about salt and vinegar? But now it's different. Luo Yang's serious eyes have a hint of teasing. "I need to ask you this. Pei Xiao. Luo Yang, she is your wife now. Madam Boss, who dares to interfere? You just got married this morning, and now you're gone." Pei Xiao lit a cigarette, took a puff, and said coldly, "She went to Mingcheng to deliver the documents." Luo Yang's heart trembled when he heard this. What documents did she go to Mingcheng to deliver? Mingcheng and they were in contact with a Mr. Zhang, who was a notorious pervert. Jin Yang knew about this, so she avoided him every time. And Ji Yuyin didn't know Mingcheng at all. What would happen if he met him? Pei Xiao's eyes were gloomy. "I have to ask you this, who is in charge of Mingcheng now?" Luo Yang's breath was choked. This Jin Yang is really confused. He stood up hastily. "I'll arrange it right away." After saying that, he quickly turned around and left the office, with Ji Yuyin's call number already flashing on his cell phone. When Ji Yuyin was about to get on the bus, he found that he didn't have a mask with him, and the driver refused to let him get on. She hurried to find a convenience store to buy it, but before she could buy it, she received a call from Luo Yang. "Where are you?" "I haven't boarded the bus yet. It will take about half an hour to get to Mingcheng." Hearing this, Luo Yang breathed a sigh of relief. "It's good that you didn't go, come back quickly." Hurry up, President Pei wants to talk to you about something." Ji Yuyin. "Didn't you say you would let Jin Yang follow? What could happen to her right now?" "I was worried in my heart, but I didn't dare to say, okay." After hanging up the phone, Ji Yuyin hurried back to the company with the documents. When they got out of the elevator, Chu Ran gave her a look, which Ji Yuyin didn't understand at all. Jin Yang saw that Pei Xiao's meeting time was almost up and came back from another department. When she saw Ji Yuyin holding the documents she asked him to deliver, her face darkened instantly. "You haven't gone yet." Can you afford this delay?" Jin Yang looked at the time on her watch and said angrily. Luo Yang heard the noise, came out of the office with a gloomy face, and called out gloomily, "Jin Yang." Hearing Luo Yang's voice, Jin Yang's face froze, and instantly changed into a formal smile. "Director Luo." Luo Yang walked up to them and glanced at Jin Yang gloomily. "You asked Ji Yuyin to deliver the information." Jin Yang felt a little frightened by his gaze, and at the same time a little confused. Isn't it normal for colleagues in the department to help each other at any time? Even if Ji Yuyin is Mr. Pei's exclusive assistant. But she is the most idle person in the department, and she usually helps others. It would take her less than half an hour to deliver the information. More importantly, she also wanted President Pei to personally see her work ability today. Under Luo Yang's oppressive gaze, Jin Yang nodded fearfully. "Yes, I. Didn't Mr. Pei say that he didn't want to order food today? Why don't you go buy some groceries?" Jin Yang was interrupted by Luo Yang before she could finish her words. He was speaking to Ji Yuyin. However, when the people present heard Luo Yang's words, their hearts skipped a beat. He looked at Ji Yuyin in confusion. And Ji Yuyin's expression froze at this moment. Wasn't her marriage to President Pei kept secret? Now Director Luo's words are too misleading, aren't they? Seeing that Ji Yuyin didn't move, Luo Yang's tone became more serious. Why don't you go quickly? Oh, okay. Ji Yuyin came back to his senses instantly and nodded somewhat confusedly. Under the gazes of Jin Yang and Chu Ran that seemed to see through her, she quickly put the documents down and turned to go to the elevator. Only Jin Yang, Chu Ran and Luo Yang were left at the scene. Luo Yang glanced at Jin Yang and said angrily, "Your only problem is that you can't keep your temper." Not only did I lose my temper, I simply forgot what I shouldn't do today. Jin Yang's mind went blank after being scolded, and she kept saying sorry. Luo Yang didn't want to hear her explanation. When Jing Fei came back from outside, she saw Jin Yang being scolded like a grandson for the first time, and a smug smile flashed across her face. At the end of the lecture, Luo Yang said, "From now on, Ji Yuyin will only be responsible for the tasks assigned by President Pei. You can do the rest on your own. Watch and divide the work." What this means is that Ji Yuyin has to leave work early, and they all have to work overtime to help her finish her work. Is that what you mean? Obviously, this is what Luo Yang meant. Jing Fei, come with me. Luo Yang turned around angrily. Fortunately, it was discovered early. If Ji Yuyin had suffered a loss in Mingcheng, Pei Xiao would have abolished the entire assistant department. Luo Yang had always wondered why Pei Xiao was protecting such a country girl. He also checked and found that the two had no previous interactions. What was going on? When Jing Fei passed by Jin Yang, she gave Jin Yang a meaningful look. Jin Yang gritted her teeth in anger. When Jing Fei followed Luo Yang into the office, Jin Yang glared at Chu Ran fiercely. "What are you looking at?" Chu Ran was too lazy to pay attention to her, so he withdrew his gaze and started to deal with his own work. However, Jin Yang felt so angry when she saw Luo Yang calling Jing Fei away that she had no place to vent. He threw Mingchen's document directly in front of Chu Ran. "You go and deliver this document." Chu Ran raised her eyes coldly. "Didn't you hear what Director Luo said? We all have to help Ji Yuyin with the work. Didn't he say we have to help you with it too? You?" Jin Yang's anger burned to the top of his head. In Pei's company, she had never encountered a situation like today. Because of her work ability, who wouldn't give her some leniency? Chu Ran, it only said that the first assistant would be promoted internally, but it didn't say that you would be promoted directly. Besides, Jin Yang's work ability is good, but the way she gets along with her employees is really bad. At least half of the people in Pei's family dislike her. Perhaps Luo Yang felt that the first assistant's main task was to manage the assistant department well, and it didn't matter whether others liked it or not. But at this stage, we should not indulge ourselves in things that we shouldn't. At this moment, Chu Ran's internal line rang, and he picked up the phone. "Hello, this is Pei's assistant department. You go to the meeting with Mr. Pei." Luo Yang's voice came from the other end of the phone. Chu Ran glanced at Jin Yang, who hadn't left yet, and said with a smile, "Okay, Director Luo." Jin Yang also heard the voice on the phone, and her already bad expression turned even more grim. "I didn't expect that I spent so much effort, but in the end it was this bitch who benefited from it." Chu Ran stood up. Jin Yang said, "It's just a meeting. What are you so proud of?" "Yeah, it's just a meeting. Is it worth your time to get Ji Yuyin out of the way?" Jin Yang's breathing was heavy, but Chu Ran was too lazy to pay attention to her. Ji Yuyin has already arrived at the supermarket. Pei Xiao just said he wanted to buy noodles, but Ji Yuyin didn't know what was in the kitchen. If you don't have anything, then there are too many things to buy, but if you do have something, it would be a waste to buy it back. After struggling for a few minutes, she finally took out her phone. Pei Xiao was already in a meeting at the moment. When he saw Ji Yuyin's call coming in, he picked up the phone and said, "Go ahead." He uttered a word with no warmth in his tone. Ji Yuyin, who was on the other end of the phone, couldn't help but feel his heart shrink. "But I quickly asked, I want to ask if there is salt and vinegar in the kitchen." Pei Xiao's face turned dark. Chu Ran was on Pei Xiao's right-hand side at this moment, and on his left was the company's finance manager. Both of them heard Ji Yuyin's voice. And she asked, "It seemed like it was salt and vinegar?"